When my father's lawyer read his will, he said, "Your inheritance is $40 million, contingent on you confessing what you did to your brother." I hadn't spoken to my brother Theo in 11 years, and my father knew exactly why. The lawyer's name was Hargrove, some silver-haired man in a suit that cost more than my rent. He read the rest of the will first, the beach house to charity, the art collection to a museum, $3 million to the housekeeper who'd worked for my father for 30 years. Then he looked up at me over his reading glasses and said it again, slowly, like I hadn't heard him the first time. The remaining estate, totaling approximately $40 million, transfers to your name upon the submission of a signed, notarized confession detailing the events of August 14th, 2013. August 14th, 2013. I hadn't said that date out loud in over a decade, but it lived in my chest, like a stone. Theo was sitting across the table from me. We hadn't made eye contact once since I walked into that conference room. He was 41 now, gray at his temples, and he still couldn't look at me. I didn't blame him. "What happens to the money if I don't confess?" I asked. Hargrove folded his hands. "It goes to Theo, entirely." I almost laughed. dog groomer, she finished brushing my golden retriever and asked, "Where did you really get this animal?" I laughed. Bailey is the most perfect golden retriever you've ever seen. Shiny coat, happy face, tail always wagging. I got her from a breeder 3 years ago. From a breeder in Vermont, I said. Why? The groomer's face was completely serious, staring at Bailey like she'd just seen a ghost. Ma'am, I've been grooming dogs for 22 years. This isn't a golden retriever. I blinked. Excuse me? She pointed at Bailey's ears. The ear placement is wrong. The coat texture is off. The bone structure in her face doesn't match the breed standard. I looked at Bailey, who was sitting there panting happily, completely oblivious to this insane conversation. Are you saying someone sold me a fake dog? I'm saying this animal was bred to look like a golden retriever, but it's not purebred. Someone went through a lot of trouble to make her look convincing. My stomach dropped. Why would anyone do that? She hesitated. I don't know, but I've seen this before. 3 years ago, a client brought in what they thought was a husky. Turned out it was part wolf. The dog attacked someone 6 months later. I stared at her. You think Bailey is dangerous? I think you should get a DNA test, just to be safe. I left the groomer's office feeling like I was losing my mind. Bailey had never shown a single sign of aggression. She played with kids at the park. She slept in my bed every night. The idea that she was secretly some kind of dangerous hybrid was ridiculous. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, I ordered a dog DNA kit online. While I waited, I started noticing things I'd never paid attention to before. The way Bailey's eyes looked almost too intelligent. The way she never barked at strangers. Just stared at them until they walked away. The DNA kit arrived on Thursday. I swabbed Bailey's cheek and mailed it off. The results came back a week later. I opened the email on my phone during my lunch break. Golden Retriever, 48%. German Shepherd, 31%. Wolf, 21%. My hands started shaking. 21% wolf. The groomer was right. I called the breeder immediately. The number I had saved in my phone went straight to a disconnected message. I googled the breeding business. Nothing. No website, no social media, no records. It was like they never existed. Then I remembered the paperwork. When I bought Bailey, the breeder gave me a folder with her pedigree, vet records, and registration papers. I ran home and tore through my filing cabinet until I found it. The pedigree looked official. Champion bloodlines on both sides. A KC registration number. Except when I called the AKC to verify, they told me the registration number didn't exist in their system. Everything was fake. I sat on my living room floor with Bailey's head in my lap, trying to figure out what to do. She licked my hand and looked up at me with those two smart eyes. Who are you? I whispered. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? You got the DNA test back. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Who is this? Someone who's been watching you. You need to return the dog. My blood went cold. What are you talking about? That animal doesn't belong to you. It was stolen from a research facility 3 years ago. We've been looking for her ever since. I looked at Bailey. She was staring at the phone in my hand, ears perked up, completely still. You're lying. Check her left hind leg. There's a microchip scar about 2 inches above her paw. We implanted it when she was 6 months old. I dropped to my knees and ran my hand down Bailey's leg. There it was. A small white scar I'd always assumed was from a puppy injury. What kind of research facility? The kind you don't ask questions about. We'll pay you $50,000 for her return. Cash. No questions asked. And if I say no, then we'll come get her anyway. And you won't like how that goes. The line went dead. I stared at Bailey. She tilted her head at me. And for the first time since I'd brought her home, I felt genuinely scared of what I was looking at. Then she did something she'd never done before. She walked to the front door, sat down, and started scratching at it with her paw in a specific pattern. 3 long scratches, 2 short, 3 long. SOS in Morse code. My entire body went numb. I grabbed my car keys, scooped Bailey into my arms, and ran out the back door. I drove straight to the police station and told them everything. They found the research facility 2 days later. Illegal genetic experiments. They'd been creating designer dogs with enhanced intelligence for military contracts. Bailey was one of 12 that escaped when an employee sabotaged the operation. The other 11 were never found. Bailey's living with me under a new name now, in a new city. The courts ruled she's legally mine since the facility was operating illegally. But sometimes, late at night, I catch her staring out the window, and I wonder if she's waiting for the others to find her. At the dog groomer, she finished brushing my golden retriever and asked, "Where did you really get this animal?" I laughed. Bailey at the aquarium touch tank, my son reached in, and the marine biologist said, "Get him away from the water right now." We'd been at the aquarium for 20 minutes when Liam found the touch tank. He's 6 years old and obsessed with sea creatures, so naturally he dragged me straight there. The tank was packed with kids, starfish, sea urchins, and small rays glided through shallow water, while a marine biologist stood nearby answering questions. She was mid-20s, ponytail, name tag that said, Dr. Parker. Liam pushed his way to the front and plunged both hands into the water. I watched him gently touch a starfish, his face lighting up with pure joy. "Daddy, it feels bumpy." "That's amazing, buddy." He moved his hands through the water, reaching for a ray. That's when Dr. Parker's head snapped toward us. Her eyes locked onto Liam, and her entire body went rigid. "Get him away from the water right now." Her voice was sharp and urgent, not loud, but the kind of tone that makes your blood run cold. I grabbed Liam's arm and yanked him back. "What's wrong?" Dr. Parker was already moving toward us, pushing through the crowd of children. "Everyone step back from the tank, now." Parents started pulling their kids away, confused. Liam looked up at me with wide eyes. "Did I do something bad?" "No, buddy, you're okay." Dr. Parker crouched down in front of Liam. Her face was pale. "Honey, I need you to show me exactly where you put your hands. Can you point?" Liam pointed to the left corner of the tank where he'd been reaching for the ray. She stood up and called over her radio. "Code blue in the touch tank. I need the emergency team here immediately." My stomach dropped. "What's happening? What's code blue?" She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed a long net and started carefully moving aside starfish and rocks in the corner where Liam had been touching. 2 more staff members ran over. One of them started evacuating everyone from the touch tank area entirely. The other brought what looked like a medical kit. "Sir, I need you to tell me if your son touched anything unusual. Anything that didn't look like the other animals." I thought back. Liam had touched a starfish, reached for a ray, and then there was something small. I thought it was a shell. It had blue rings on it. Dr. Parker's face went white. "Blue rings? Are you sure?" "Yes." "Why?" She didn't answer, just kept searching the tank with increasing urgency. That's when I heard one of the other staff members on the phone. "We have a potential blue-ringed octopus exposure. Child, approximately 6 years old, requesting immediate medical standby." My legs nearly gave out. Blue-ringed octopus. I'd seen a documentary once, one of the most venomous creatures in the ocean. No anti-venom. If it bites you, you have minutes before paralysis sets in. I grabbed Liam and held him tight, checking his hands for bite marks. Did anything hurt you? Did you feel a pinch or a sting? He shook his head. No, it just felt squishy. Dr. Parker pulled something out of the tank with her net. A tiny octopus, no bigger than a golf ball with brilliant blue rings covering its body. She looked at Liam, then at me. He touched it? I think so. She examined Liam's hands carefully, turning them over, checking between his fingers. Any numbness? Tingling? Trouble breathing? No, Liam said. I feel normal. Can you squeeze my hand as hard as you can? Liam squeezed. Dr. Parker nodded. Again. He squeezed again. She pulled out her phone and started taking photos of his hands from every angle. This doesn't make sense. What doesn't make sense? Blue-ringed octopuses bite when threatened. He touched it directly. It should have bitten him. She looked at the octopus in the net, then back at Liam. Unless, she pulled out a magnifying glass from the medical kit and examined the creature more closely. Her shoulders dropped, and she let out a long breath. It's a juvenile, less than 2 weeks old. What does that mean? It means its venom sacs aren't fully developed yet. It physically couldn't have envenomated him even if it tried. She sat back on her heels. Your son is the luckiest kid I've ever met. I wanted to cry, scream, and hug her all at once. How did it even get in there? I asked. Dr. Parker's face darkened. That's what I'd like to know. These aren't supposed to be anywhere near this facility. Someone either brought it in deliberately, or our suppliers made a catastrophic error. She radioed someone else. I need to speak with the director immediately. We have a contamination situation. She turned back to me. I'm going to need you to stay for...
I stole some crazy rare things today. And trust me guys, wait until the end because the last steal is so rare. Wait, that's a nuclear arrow. Hello? What's going on here? He's gonna leave. He's gonna leave, I'm calling it now. Oh my god. Oh my... No, I'm lagging. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, he's chill. I'm gonna do this just in case. Just in case. Let's go! Wait, where's the gold toilet? Just chilling.
I have been saying that I do want a Paparu and Fizzroo, and that's literally the best one I've seen so far. And I got a dragon. I think I'm doing it, guys.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
But wait, guys, it's not over. I actually also traded my love bear. They're ready. They said yes. Oh my god. Should I do this? Should I do this, Ruby? I think Ruby's saying yes, low key. Okay, W Ruby. I saw someone say W Ruby. For those reasons, guys. Accept. Oh my god. No. Yeah.
Alright, so today I'm going to be putting this candy dragon in the public server to see how long it lasts. Psych, I lied. We're going to be using this diamond catchy pat to see how long it lasts. But before we hop into the public server, make sure to check out the Zero Mask link in the description. It's my first UGC item, so yeah, check it out. So when I joined the public server, I actually realized that I had the catchy pat in the wrong spot, so I had to leave and actually fix that. But as soon as I rejoined, someone tried to steal it and he said no way in the chat. And then the same guy tried to steal it because his base was right next to mine, but he ended up getting Medusa'd. And then this bake was making mad progress.
Sammy needs to fix this. And trust me guys, just wait until the end to see what I mean because you will not believe this happened. Oh my god, we have a Garama in hands. We have a Garama in hands. Oh my god. So as you guys can see, I had the Garama in hands. Now just keep watching, trust me, because something crazy is about to happen. Oh my god, there is no way. There's no way he just left. I cannot believe he just left. Please don't grief me, please don't grief me. I feel like someone's gonna hit me, I don't know. Okay, they're not, they're chill. Oh my god, let's go. Oh, we just lost it to the scripter. Sammy needs to fix this. And trust me guys, just wait.
Testing how long the new Lost Sekolas will survive in a public server. I'm joking, but in today's video, I will be testing their dad, the ASOC. So here I join a server, and as always, people rush inside of my base. It gets pretty chaotic, and everyone was trying to get their hands on this ASOC. Also,
My boyfriend handled all my phone calls after my accident. I wish he hadn't. I was sitting in the living room when I heard Gavin on the phone in the kitchen. My hands were wrapped around a coffee mug that had gone cold an hour ago. The car accident 3 months ago had damaged my vocal cords so badly I could barely whisper. Gavin had stepped up immediately and handled every single phone call for me since. My doctor appointments and my work calls and my family check-ins all went through him. I heard
My biggest steal ever. Oh my god, this guy's so stacked. This guy is so stacked. 516 million, what? Oh my god. This would be my biggest steal ever if we can get away with this. Please, can we try and get this? This would be crazy. Uh-oh, people are coming. Uh-oh. He might be a W steal. He's gonna go for something else. See, this is how you play. This works perfectly. This works perfectly. I just need to hope no...
Oh, cute. Oh, it's a little...
The absolute worst voice reveals I've ever heard. In 1991, the natural mummy of a man named Uzi was found in the Italian Alps. He was an Iceman who lived approximately 5,300 years ago. Well, scientists were actually able to recreate Uzi's voice by using CT scans to digitally map out his mouth, vocal cords, and throat. Here's how Uzi sounded. Yeah, that was not a joke. And following this, what he sounded like became a viral meme because people added his voice to rap beats which sounded like this. The internet really just can't handle itself sometimes. Next, in 2020, scientists were able to reconstruct the voice of a 3,000-year-old mummy by doing the exact same thing. But here's how the mummy sounded. The absolute worst voice reveals I've ever heard. In 1991, the natural mummy of a man named Uzi.
The Prophet ﷺ did not.
I was stealing a crazy 600 million swaggy bros, and you guys will not believe what happened. Just wait to the end because this is crazy. Oh my god, what is that? Guys, swaggy bros. Oh my... I found an OG Meow in a public server, so I was just server hopping on stream and something absolutely insane happened. The craziest base I've ever seen spawned in. And trust me guys, just wait until the end because you will not believe what happens. Replay the clip if you missed the Reaper bike. Nah, I don't really care about Reaper bike if I'm completely honest. Wait, oh my god, that's in the same base. There's a Meow in their chat. There's a Meow, there's a Meow, there's a Meow. Please don't leave, 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 don't leave. No, you're trolling. Oh my god. I found an OG Meow in a public server, so I was just server hopping on stream and something absolutely insane happened. The craziest base I've ever seen spawned in. And trust me guys, just wait until the end because you will not believe what happens. Replay the clip if you missed the Reaper bike. Nah, I don't really care about Reaper bike if I'm completely honest. Wait, oh my god, that's in the same base. There's a Meow in their chat. There's a Meow, there's a Meow.
I learned this in Italy.
In Italy, we have something like that called the piadina. But we don't put the ketchup like that. American cheese and noodles, but this is not from Italy. Look at that mozzarella, you covered it in spice.
What if you and Socrates sold Raising Cane's in ancient Rome? Day 1. You and Socrates arrive in Rome with raw chicken, oil, and a fryer. The streets smell like sweat and donkey shit. You cut the chicken into strips, dip it in batter. Socrates watches closely. He asks, if a chicken becomes a tender, was it always meant to be tender? You ignore him. You drop the chicken into hot oil. It crackles instantly. You pull it out golden and crispy. The smell spreads through the street. People stop and they stare. Day 2. You return to the forum with Socrates. A soldier buys tenders. He takes a bite. Grease runs down his fingers. He orders a shit ton more. Socrates turns to the crowd. If one tender brings pleasure, should a man not seek more? The crowd agrees. Day 3. Romans start complaining. The tenders themselves are not enough, so you introduce buckets of cane sauce. A Roman takes the bucket instead of dipping. He drinks the sauce. It drips down his neck, but he doesn't care. He looks like he gained 10 pounds. Other soldiers call him pregnant, but they follow and do the same. Week 1. The fryer never cools. Oil constantly bubbling. You serve chicken faster than you can cook. Socrates goes to the emperor. He asks him, if the fryer is our power, what are we without it? The emperor builds you a canes. You and Socrates now have your own business and workers. Month 3. Rome eats
Could a modern scientist survive in the Stone Age? Day 1. You wake up in the Stone Age surrounded by people eating dried meat and sleeping in mud. You don't look for food. You look for green-stained rocks near a riverbank. The tribe watches you collect useless stones all day. By sunset,
I refused to let my stepmom be called Grandma. My dad married Diane 3 years ago when I was 23. We were polite, but not close. She tried the whole stepmom thing early on, texting me daily and inviting me to lunch, but I already had a mom. After 6 months, she stopped trying and we just did awkward small talk at family dinners. 2 months ago, I had my son. My dad came to the hospital and Diane tagged along. A nurse walked into my recovery room saying, "Grandma got to hold him first in the hallway, she's so sweet." I was confused because my actual mom had left an hour ago. The nurse meant Diane. She told the entire staff she was Grandma while I was still recovering from delivery. I was too exhausted to deal with it then, but it bothered me for days. My mom is Grandma. My boyfriend's mom is Nana. Diane never asked. Week later, they visited my apartment. Diane brought 4 shopping bags of expensive stuff, a $300 car seat system, an auto rock bouncer, and a pile of onesies that all said Grandma's little guy, or I love Grandma. She was beaming, unpacking everything. I waited until she finished. "Diane, thanks for this, but I need to talk about the grandma thing. My son has 2 grandmas already. Could you use Miss Diane?" Her face went pale. My dad immediately said I was being cruel, that Diane was just excited. I explained it wasn't personal, just about respecting my actual mom. Diane's eyes filled with tears and she walked straight out. My dad chased her. I heard her in the stairwell saying, "She's never going to accept me." They left without coming back. My boyfriend thought I should have just allowed it to keep the peace, but I'm the parent here. Next day, my dad texted asking to meet for lunch alone. I figured he wanted to smooth things over. At the diner, he barely ate. Finally, he admitted Diane had set up a full nursery at their house. Crib, changing table, rocking chair, everything. I stared at him. I never said the baby would stay over. He said Diane wanted to be ready for when we needed help. I asked when she started. He went quiet, then admitted she'd been buying stuff since my 2nd trimester, 6 months ago. Before I'd even told them.
Oh my gosh, he has an Ultra New Beanie? We do for my Ultra New Beanie? No way he has one of these. Sammy only spawned a few. No way. I got that right? No. No. No way.
New Beanie Pizza Nini.
Oh, I saw thingy, innit? Yeah, I saw fuse. Wait, what? Wait, what? It's real. Chat, I just got griefed. Chat, I just got griefed. Chat, no.
Yeah, boy.
I just got griefed.
Heavy left on.
Wait.
I wish my 9-year-old wasn't alive anymore. My daughter Alexis was the sweetest baby you'd ever seen. But when she turned 5, something in her broke. She was coloring at the kitchen table when it happened the first time. She suddenly grabbed her crayon in her fist and lunged at my face, trying to stab it into my eye. I caught her wrist just in time and she started screaming, "I'm going to cut you open and wear your skin like a dress, Mommy." When she came back to herself 20 minutes later, she was just my little girl again, crying in my arms and asking, "Mommy, why are my hands shaking?" That was 4 years ago. 11 doctors and 23 medications later, the episodes only got worse. I put locks on every door and hid anything sharp, but my baby girl had turned into something that terrified me. The worst episode came out of nowhere, on a random Tuesday. My 7-year-old son, Jude, was doing homework at the kitchen table while Alexis sat across from him drawing. She'd been calm for 3 days straight, which felt like a miracle. I walked to the pantry to grab them a snack, and I swear I wasn't gone for more than 30 seconds. Then Jude screamed. I spun around and saw Alexis standing over him, with scissors buried 3 inches into his shoulder. She was whispering. The voices said, "Your blood will make the screaming stop." While Jude bled all over my kitchen floor, I tackled her and pinned her down, and she looked up at me with these empty eyes and said, "I'm going to off him, Mommy, then I'm going to off you, then everything will finally be quiet." After that, Jude needed surgery and over 20 stitches. While he was recovering, I called every psychiatric facility in the state, begging them to take Alexis. They all said the same things. "We don't have beds for violent kids under 12. Her case is too severe. We can't handle her." Then some lady from the state showed up and sat across from me in the hospital cafeteria. She looked me in the eye and said, "Mrs. Wheeler, we can't just send off children because their parents find them inconvenient." I wanted to show her where Alexis bit my arm through to the bone last month, but instead, I filed for an emergency court hearing. The courtroom was just this small room with wood walls and lights that buzzed overhead. Alexis wasn't there because she'd had an episode that morning and tried to strangle the lady the court sent to watch her. The judge was this older guy with bags under his eyes who looked like he'd seen everything, but I watched his face change as he flipped through Alexis's file. He saw the photos of Jude's shoulder and read about the 13 violent episodes episodes she had in the last 6 months. Then he looked at me and said, Mrs. Wheeler, is there anything you'd like to say before I make my decision? I had this whole speech ready about the system failing us, but when I opened my mouth, the only thing that came out was the thing I'd been too ashamed to say to anyone. Your Honor, I wish my child would die. The words just hung there. I love her more than anything, I said, but I have a son who won't sleep in his own bed because he's scared his sister will hurt him again. I have a daughter who sobs and says sorry after every episode, then asks me why her brain was made wrong. Last week she had a good moment and she looked at me and said, Mommy, I think everyone would be safer if I just wasn't here anymore. I couldn't even tell her she was wrong. I can't keep my son safe from his sister. I can't keep my daughter safe from herself. If that makes me a monster, fine, but I'm a monster who is running out of options. I waited for him to tell me I was the worst mother he'd ever seen, but when he looked at me, there was something soft in his face. I've sat on this bench for 31 years, he said. I've seen parents who hurt their kids because they're cruel, and parents who dump their kids because they're selfish. You're not either of those things. You're a mom who got failed by every single person who was supposed to help. He picked up his pen. I'm granting emergency placement at a secure facility starting today. You're not a monster for wanting your family to be safe, Mrs. Wheeler. You're just a mom who loves a little girl that the world doesn't know how to help yet. I don't even remember driving home that day. I just remember sitting on Alexis's bed that night, holding her stuffed elephant and crying so hard I couldn't breathe. For the first time in years, Jude slept through the night without a lock on his door. I wish my 9-year-old wasn't alive anymore. My daughter Alexis was the sweetest baby you'd ever seen. But
all right, y'all, so it's the last day of school, and we're going to make a
have you ever been dumped for someone uglier? My boyfriend Eric had this problem. He couldn't put his phone down, ever. Like, the guy would literally text while I was talking to him at dinner. I'd catch him scrolling Instagram in the bathroom, DMing random girls on Snapchat, always saying he was just networking for his music career. We'd been together almost 4 years. We lived together, shared custody of our golden retriever Benny, even had matching coffee mugs. I thought we were solid. Sure, Eric spent way too much time on his phone, but I figured all guys our age were like that. Then one Tuesday night, he came home from work acting weird. Wouldn't look at me, kept checking his phone every 5 seconds. Had this stupid grin on his face. I asked what was up and he said we needed to talk. I met someone, he said, still staring at his phone. Her name's Stacy. She just gets me, you know? Like, we talk for hours every night about deep stuff, things you never ask me about. I was confused. What do you mean you met someone? Where? Snapchat. But it's not like that. We have this connection. She understands my music, my dreams. She actually listens to me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He was dumping me for some girl he'd never.
Oh my gosh, is that a dragon? Oh my gosh, no, it's in duel. It's in duel. It's trolling. Please, please, please. Oh my gosh, it's not in duel. This is crazy. This is the first ever dragon I've ever held in my hands. Please let me get this. No, no, no. What's going on? Wait. Oh my gosh, wait. He's stuck in the floor. What the heck? No way. He's scripting, right? I think I'm grabbing the Garama. I'm grabbing it. Go. The base is open. Go. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna hide behind this guy's avatar. This is crazy, please. Oh my gosh. Let's go. Oh my gosh, is that a dragon? Oh my gosh, no, it's in duel. It's trolling. Please. Oh my gosh, it's not in duel. This is crazy. This is the first ever dragon I've ever held in my hands. Please let me get this. No.
I told my friend she is reaping what she sowed. Bailey and I met sophomore year in chemistry. She had 15,000 TikTok followers, and I was low-key flattered when she wanted to be friends. She filmed everything, but I got used to it. When my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer junior year, I told Bailey at lunch. She held me while I cried for 20 minutes. 2 days later, she posted a video about supporting a friend through hard times. Everyone at school knew it was me. The video got 500,000 views, and though it felt a bit invasive, the support from strangers actually helped, so I let it go. My dad passed away 4 months later. Bailey showed up to the funeral with her phone out, filming herself crying. My aunt told her to stop, but she kept sneaking footage when no one was looking. She posted it that night. 1 million people watched. I received 6,000 messages from people sharing their own grief. It made me feel less alone, so I didn't say anything, even though a knot was starting to form in my stomach. She did this constantly. When our friend Zoe got dumped, Bailey showed up with a ring light, filmed for an hour, and then
I stole a crazy 405 million radioactive lost puggies. But don't scroll away too soon, because the ending you will not believe happens. Trust me guys, wait until the end. Oh my god, that's a crazy base. Just like this. Please don't be a jewel. Oh, there's a meow in that chat. There's a meow. Please don't leave. No. Wait, there's a dragon. Chat, it's gonna be a jewel base. No.
While my son was at his friend's sleepover, he called and said, "Dad, come get me." Then my son walked into the kitchen, phone in hand. My son Owen is 9 years old, and has never once asked to leave a sleepover early. Not when he was 6 and threw up on Marcus's carpet. Not when he was 7 and the power went out for 4 hours. The kid has the social stamina of a golden retriever. He would rather sleep on a linoleum floor than admit he wants to go home. So when my phone rang at 10:40 p.m. and his name lit up the screen, I assumed the worst. Broken arm. Allergic reaction. Someone's dad got arrested. Dad. His voice was low and tight. "Can you come get me?" I was already off the couch. "What happened? Are you hurt?" "No, He paused. "I just need you to come, okay? Don't call the Hawthorns. Just come. Don't call the Hawthorns." Ryan Hawthorne was Owen's best friend. I knew their parents from school pickup. Good people, nothing alarming. But Owen saying "don't call them" made my stomach drop straight through the floor. "Are you safe right now?" "Yeah, I'm safe. I'm outside on the porch. Don't move. I'm coming." I was pulling on shoes when I heard the front door open behind me. I spun around. Owen was standing in the kitchen doorway, phone in his hand, backpack on his shoulder, completely dry-eyed, looking at me like I was the one behaving strangely. "I got a ride," he said. I stared at him. "You, what? I was just on the phone with you." "Yeah, I called you from the car. We hung up like 2 minutes ago. You said you were on the Hawthorne's porch." "I was." Then Mrs. Ingman from next door drove by and saw me sitting outside and offered to drop me off. He set his backpack down. Can I have a snack? I stood there holding my car keys. My heart was still punching the inside of my chest. Owen, I need you to explain to me why you were sitting outside on your best friend's porch at 11 o'clock at night. He opened the fridge and stared into it with the focus of a scientist examining a specimen. I didn't want to make Ryan feel bad, he said finally. Feel bad about what? He pulled out the orange juice, poured himself a glass, and sat down at the kitchen table. I sat across from him and waited. Ryan's parents were fighting, he said. Like, really fighting. Not just arguing. His dad was yelling so loud I could hear it through the floor. He looked down at his glass. Ryan pretended to be asleep. I could tell he wasn't because he kept going really still. Like if he didn't move, maybe it would stop. I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to do, Owen said. I couldn't leave because then Ryan would know I heard. But I couldn't stay in the room because I kept looking at him and he knew I was looking at him. He spun his glass slowly on the table. So I snuck out to the porch. I figured if I was outside, he could just be embarrassed by himself for a while. That's why you said not to call the Hawthorns? I didn't want his parents to come outside and see you pulling up, and then Ryan would know everything. That would be so much worse. He looked up at me. Did I do the right thing? I thought about the 9-year-old logic of it. Sneak out so your friend can keep his dignity. Don't make it a whole thing. Let him be embarrassed in private. Don't call the dad. Don't turn it into a rescue operation. Just quietly remove yourself so the other person gets to decide how much of it is real. That's not instinct. That's something you have to figure out on your own. Yeah, I said. You did. He nodded and drank his juice. Is Ryan okay? Owen shrugged in the way kids shrug when they're pretending something is smaller than it is. I think so. His parents stopped after a while. He turned his glass in a slow circle on the table. It was really loud though. Like, the kind of loud where you feel it in your chest. I reached over and squeezed the back of his neck the way my dad used to do with me. He didn't pull away.
Mom abandoned me when I was a kid to marry a man who didn't want kids. And years later, she showed up begging for a relationship after her husband left her, then faked assault injuries to extort money from me. I was 7 when my mother packed 2 suitcases and told me she was going on a trip. She knelt down and said she'd be back in a week. That was 15 years ago. My grandmother raised me after that. She never badmouthed my mother, just told me some people aren't ready to be parents, and it had nothing to do with me. I found out later my mother had met a wealthy man named Dominic, who told her flat out he didn't want children in his life, so she chose him. Moved to his lake house 4 states away and started over like I never existed. No birthday calls, no Christmas cards, nothing. My grandmother worked 2 jobs to keep me fed and clothed. She taught me how to cook, fix things, save money. By 22, I'd graduated college debt-free on scholarships and bought a small house 6 blocks from my grandmother's place. Life was finally good. Then 3 months ago, my doorbell rang at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday. I opened the door, and there she was, my mother. She looked older and exhausted with dark circles under her eyes and clothes wrinkled like she'd been sleeping in them. "Hi, baby," she said like 15 years hadn't passed. "Can I come in?" I stared at the woman who'd left me for a man's lake house. "What do you want?" She started crying immediately. Dominic had left her for someone younger, cleaned out their joint account. The lake house was in his name, so she had nothing. No job, no savings, no friends because he'd isolated her from everyone. She needed a place to stay, just for a little while. "You left me when I was 7, I said. "I know, and I'm so sorry. Please just give me one chance." Against every instinct, I let her sleep on the couch for one night. One night turned into a week. The week turned into a month. She rearranged my furniture without asking, ate my food without replacing it, ran up my electric bill. She'd cry every time I mentioned her leaving and twist it into a guilt trip about how hard her life had been. She never once asked about my grandmother who actually raised me. One morning I told her she needed to find her own place by Friday. Her face changed instantly. "After everything I've been through, you'd throw your own mother onto the street? You threw me away first," I said. I was 7 years old. She stormed out, slamming my front door so hard the frame cracked. I figured that was the end of it. 2 days later, 2 police officers showed up at my door. My mother had gone to the station with bruises covering both arms and a swollen black eye, claiming I had beaten her when she asked for help. She filed photos and told them her son was violent and she feared for her life. The officers were professional but firm. They needed my side. I told them the truth. She'd been staying with me. I asked her to leave. She left on her own. Nobody touched anybody. One officer asked if I could verify that. I almost said no, but then remembered my grandmother had insisted I install security cameras last year after break-ins on our street. I pulled up the footage and showed them the exact moment my mother walked out. No confrontation, no physical contact. She opened the door herself, slammed it, and walked to her car completely unharmed. The officers watched it twice. One zoomed in on the timestamp and compared it to her filed photos. "These bruises appear very fresh, a few hours old at most." He looked at his partner. "She left his house 2 full days before filing this report." They called my mother back to the station. She showed up confident with her tears already loaded. The officer played my footage on the monitor without warning. Her face drained of all color. "This shows you leaving his home uninjured 48 hours before you filed your report. Care to explain how you got those injuries?" She tried saying I'd gone to her motel afterward. The officer pulled up my work badge log.
I took my newborn son and went to my mom's house because my husband and his mom didn't save me any food for dinner, so I just had a baby 3 weeks ago, and I was literally starving. Like, actually starving. I hadn't eaten anything since breakfast because I was dealing with the baby all day while my husband Owen was at work. His mom Carol had been staying with us for the past week to help with the baby, but honestly, she was just getting in the way and making everything harder. Anyway, Owen texted me around 4, saying his mom was making her famous pot roast for dinner, and I got so excited because I was literally about to pass out from hunger. I'd been breastfeeding all day and had zero energy to cook anything. The baby was finally napping, so I decided to take a quick shower since I hadn't had one in like 2 days. When I got out of the shower, I could smell the most amazing food coming from the kitchen. My stomach was literally growling so loud I thought it might wake up the baby. I walked downstairs expecting to see the table set for dinner, but instead I see Owen and his mom sitting at the table with completely empty plates, just casually chatting like nothing happened. I looked around confused and asked where my plate was. Carol looked at me with this fake sweet smile and said, "Oh honey, we thought you were sleeping, so we went ahead and ate. There's some crackers in the pantry if you're hungry." I just stared at her like she was speaking a foreign language. Owen didn't even look up from his phone. He just shrugged and said, "Mom made enough for 2 people. We figured you'd grab something later." I looked at the stove and there wasn't even a single leftover piece of meat or potato. They had literally eaten everything and left me nothing.
When I told my family I was getting married, they laughed. On my wedding day, my mother smirked. The real bride is already there, your sister. And every expense was covered by my in-laws, even a luxury house. My parents snorted. Oh great, who's the lucky guy? My sister chimed in. Yes, tell us when you'll bring him by. They laughed like I'd told the funniest joke of the year. For context, I've been the invisible daughter my entire life. My sister Vivian was the golden child, pageant queen, homecoming court, the one my parents introduced first at every event. I was the quiet one who got a full scholarship to nursing school and nobody mentioned it at Thanksgiving. When I met Alistair at a medical conference, everything changed. His family owned private hospitals across 3 states. When he proposed, his parents offered to cover the wedding, honeymoon, and gifted us a house in a gated community. I was excited to tell my family. My mom barely looked up. Sounds like a scam. My dad laughed. Nobody gives away a house. Vivian rolled her eyes. Is he even real? I said I'd bring him by tomorrow. The next afternoon, Alistair pulled up in his black Mercedes. My family's faces changed the second he stepped out. Tall, sharp jaw, tailored suit. My mom fixed her hair. My dad stood straighter. Vivian put on that smile she uses when she wants something. This is Alistair, I said. Before I could say more, Vivian grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the garden. Let me show you around. I watched them disappear behind the hedges. When they came back 5 minutes later, Alistair looked uncomfortable. That night I asked what she said. He shrugged. Nothing important. But he wouldn't look at me. Alistair, what did she say? He rubbed the back of his neck. She said you have mental health issues and I should be careful. That you get attached too fast and make things up. My blood went cold. What did you say? I told her I've known you for 2 years and that's not my experience. He paused. But she said something else too. What? She said if things don't work out with you, she'd be available. I stood there processing the fact that my sister tried to sabotage my relationship and offer herself as a replacement within 5 minutes of meeting my fiance. The weeks before the wedding were chaos. My mom kept calling with strange requests. Change the venue, move the date, make Vivian maid of honor. I said no to everything. Then the wedding morning arrived. I was in my childhood bedroom getting ready. My mom walked in and started fussing. Your hair isn't right. She spent 40 minutes doing nothing useful, then left to make calls, then came back to check her own makeup in my mirror. Mom, we need to leave. Ceremony starts in an hour. She looked at me and smiled. Not warm, cold. Don't worry, no one's getting late. The real bride is already there. I stared at her. What? Your sister. She's at the venue in a white dress. Alistair's family doesn't know the difference. By the time you arrive, it'll be done. She blocked the door. You should have shared him when you had the chance. I sat there for 10 seconds, then picked up my phone and called Alistair's mother. Mrs. Kensington, the woman at the venue in white is not me. It's my sister. Do not let the ceremony proceed. 3 seconds of silence. Consider it handled. I called my best friend. Get to the venue, record everything. Then I did my makeup in 6 minutes, grabbed my backup dress from my car, and drove myself there. When I arrived, the scene was already falling apart. Vivian was at the altar in a dress she'd bought 2 weeks ago. Alistair was nowhere near her. He was with his mother near the entrance, arms crossed, face like stone. Vivian was crying, telling guests it was a misunderstanding. My mom was trying to convince Alistair's father this was a joke. He wasn't laughing. I walked straight down the aisle. Every head turned. Vivian saw me and crumbled. You weren't supposed to be here yet, she whispered. And you weren't supposed to be wearing white, I said. Alistair's mother addressed the room. We've contacted police. This woman impersonated our son's fiance and attempted to obtain a marriage license using forged documents. Vivian went pale. My mom tried to leave, but security blocked the exit. Those documents were real, she stammered. I have every right to. You have the right to remain silent, the officer said from the side door. They arrested Vivian for fraud and identity theft on the spot. My mom was escorted out. My dad, who'd driven separately and knew nothing, sat in the 3rd row with his head in his hands. Alistair walked over and took my hand. Still want to marry me today? Absolutely. We married 40 minutes later. I never spoke to my mother or sister again. When I told my family I was getting married, they laughed. On my wedding day, my mother smirked. The real bride is already there, your sister. And every At my son's birthday, my nephew opened my kid's present and shouted, "Mine now." Everyone laughed. Then Dad said, "Don't make a scene. It's just an iPhone." I hugged my kid. Sure. That night, I dangled her car keys. Mine now. Relax. It's just a car I pay for. My son Benji turned 12 last Saturday, and all he wanted was one thing. He'd been asking for an iPhone since September, doing extra chores, keeping his grades up, saving his allowance in a jar on his dresser labeled phone fund in his messy handwriting. I worked double shifts at the hospital for 3 months to afford it. Wrapped it myself in blue paper because blue is his favorite color. The party was at my parents' house because they have the bigger backyard. My sister Jolene brought her son Grady, who is 14, and has never been told no a single day in his life. Grady is the kind of kid who takes the biggest slice of cake before the birthday kid blows out the candles. And Jolene thinks it's adorable. Every family gathering is the same. Grady takes what he wants and Jolene laughs it off while my parents enable every second of it because Jolene is the golden child and Grady is the golden grandchild. When Benji sat down to open presents, his eyes went straight to the blue box. He knew. He picked it up carefully and started unwrapping it slowly, savoring every second. Before he could even get the paper off, Grady reached across the table and snatched it right out of his hands, ripped the rest of the wrapping off and held the iPhone box above his head. "Mine now," he shouted, grinning like he'd just scored a touchdown. The whole table laughed. My parents, my aunts, Jolene, everyone thought it was hilarious. Benji's face crumbled. His lips started trembling and he looked at me with eyes that shattered my heart. I stood up. "Grady, give that back right now." Jolene waved her hand. "Relax. He's just playing." He's not playing. He took my son's birthday present. My dad walked over from the grill. "Don't make a scene. It's just an iPhone. You can get another one. Just an iPhone." 3 months of double shifts, missed dinners, aching feet, crying in my car during breaks because I was so exhausted. Just an iPhone. Something cold settled in my chest. "You're right," I said quietly. "It's just an iPhone." I knelt down next to Benji and hugged him tight. "I'm going to fix this," I whispered. "Trust me." He nodded against my shoulder even though tears were soaking through my shirt. I let Grady keep the phone. Jolene was beaming. My parents looked relieved the drama was over. We stayed another hour. I smiled, ate cake, and watched Grady set up the iPhone my son was supposed to be holding. The drive home was quiet. Benji stared out the window the whole time. Mom, why didn't anyone help me? Because they don't think it matters, but it matters to me. That night, I waited until 11 p.m., then drove back to my parents' house where Jolene's car sat in the driveway. She always stayed late drinking wine with my mom, but here's the thing about Jolene's car. I pay for it. 2 years ago, she lost her job and couldn't make payments. She begged me to take over the loan. I've been making every payment since. The title is in my name. I walked up, pulled out my spare key, and drove it home. Then I texted her. Mine now. Relax. It's just a car. My phone exploded. Jolene calling over and over. My dad calling. My mom calling. I answered on the 4th try. Bring my car back right now. Your car? Check the title. Check every payment for the last 2 years. That's my car. I need that car for work. And Benji needed that iPhone. Funny how taking someone's things only matters when it happens to you. My dad got on the phone. Bring the car back and stop acting like a child. It's just a car, Dad. Don't make a scene. Dead silence. Next morning, Jolene showed up with the iPhone box and tears streaming down her face. Here, take it. Just give me back my car. I opened the box. Already used. Grady's fingerprints everywhere. A wallpaper of Grady's face on the screen. This has been opened and used. So what? It still works. So does the car. I closed the door. She stood on my porch for 20 minutes. That afternoon, I bought Benji a brand new iPhone with my own money. Again. Then I sold Jolene's car for exactly what I owed on the loan. She found out 2 days later when she came back with the phone freshly factory reset. Where's my car? Sold it. Her face went white. You sold my car? My car. Used the money to cover what I'd been paying 2 years. Consider us even. My parents called me heartless. Jolene hasn't spoken to me since. But last night, Benji came downstairs holding his new iPhone and hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. Thanks for being the only one who fights for me, Mom. That's all that matters. At my son's birthday, my nephew
My friends are honestly embarrassed for me when I bring you around, she said over sushi. So I paid for my half and never spoke to her again. Now her friends watch me do well while she can't keep anything together. I'm 27. I was dating Kenzie for about 10 months. We met through a coworker at a company barbecue. She was loud, fun, the kind of person who takes over a room when she walks in. I liked that about her at first. I'm quieter. I work in supply chain management. I go to the gym. I cook my own meals. I watch basketball. I'm not flashy. I don't wear designer clothes or post on social media. Kenzie was the opposite. Everything was about appearances. The right restaurant, the right shoes, the right friends. Her friend group was a rotation of girls who all worked in real estate or marketing, and every weekend was a brunch or a rooftop bar or a dinner that cost more than my electric bill. I went along with it because I wanted to make her happy. But every time I showed up to one of her friend events, something felt off. Her friend Jules would look me up and down like I'd walked into the wrong building. Another one, Britt, would make little comments. Oh, you're wearing that? Or, that's a bold choice for this place. I'd ignore it. Kenzie never defended me, not once. She'd just laugh it off or change the subject like it didn't happen. After a while, I started noticing Kenzie would tell me to change before we went out. You're not wearing those shoes, right? Or she'd buy me shirts I didn't ask for and get annoyed when I didn't wear them. I told her I dress the way I dress, and if that's a problem, we should talk about it. She said I was overreacting. I let it go. Shouldn't have. Then came the sushi dinner. It was a Thursday night. She picked the place. Some trendy spot with $22 rolls and low lighting. We sat down, ordered, and she was on her phone for the first 10 minutes. Didn't look up, didn't talk, just scrolling. When she finally put the phone down, she had this expression like she'd been practicing what she was about to say. I need to talk to you about something. Okay, my friends are honestly embarrassed for me when I bring you around. They think I can do better. And honestly, I'm starting to agree with them. I set my chopsticks down. What exactly embarrasses them? You don't try. You show up in plain clothes, you barely talk, you don't drink the right things, you don't fit in with my circle. Jules said it's like I'm dating my uncle. Your friends said this to your face. They care about me. They see things I don't always see. And you agree with them. She shrugged. I just think you could put more effort into being the kind of guy someone like me should be with. I sat there for about 5 seconds. Then I flagged down the waiter, asked for a split check, paid my half in cash, left it on the table, stood up, and walked out. She called after me. Are you serious right now? I didn't turn around. I got in my car, drove home, and blocked her number before I even took off my jacket. She found ways to reach me. Through the coworker, through Instagram DMs, through Britt, who apparently had my email from a group thread months ago. Every message was some version of, you're being ridiculous, or I was just being honest with you. I ignored all of it. 2 weeks later, my
sister-in-law ordered lobster and expensive wine. I said, separate checks. My husband's sister Brooke has been pulling this for years. Every family dinner, every outing, every holiday meal at a restaurant. She orders the most expensive thing on the menu and then acts confused when the bill comes. She never reaches for it. She never offers to split. She just sits there sipping whatever top shelf drink she ordered and waits for someone else to pay. Usually that someone is me and my husband. We've been married 5 years. In those 5 years, I've personally covered Brooke's meals at least 30 times. I stopped counting after the steakhouse in March where she ordered a $78 Wagyu appetizer, 2 cocktails, and a full entree, then said she forgot her wallet. My husband always says the same thing. It's easier to just pay than to start a fight. And I used to agree. I used to smile and hand over my card because I didn't want to be the difficult one. I didn't want to be the sister-in-law who made things awkward. That changed on my birthday. My husband planned a dinner at this really nice Italian place downtown. He invited his parents, his brother Will, Will's wife, and Brooke. 8 people total. My husband told everyone ahead of time that he was covering dinner for me as my birthday gift. He said, I'm getting the bill for me and Ellie. Everyone else just handles their own. Simple, clear. Brooke showed up 20 minutes late in a new outfit with a new bag. She sat down, didn't say happy birthday, and immediately opened the menu. The waiter came. I ordered pasta. My husband got the chicken. His parents split a fish plate. Will and his wife kept it simple. simple. Then Brooke ordered. I'll start with the lobster bisque, then the whole lobster, market price. She looked at the wine list. And a bottle of the 2018 Brunello. The waiter paused. That's $210 for the bottle. That's fine. She didn't flinch. My mother-in-law looked at my husband. He looked at me. I said nothing. The food came. Brooke picked apart her lobster like she was performing surgery, drank 3 glasses of that wine, and spent most of the dinner on her phone. She didn't ask me a single question, didn't acknowledge it was my birthday. At one point, she said, "This lobster is fine, but not as good as the one I had in Miami." Cool. When the bill came, the waiter set it in the middle of the table. My husband reached for it to separate out our portion. Brooke grabbed it first. She glanced at the total and slid it across the table to me. "Happy birthday," she said with a smile. "You can treat yourself by treating all of us." The bill was $1,140. Brooke's food and wine alone was over $380. I looked at the bill. I looked at her. I looked at my husband. Then I flagged the waiter. "Can we get separate checks, please?" Brooke's smile disappeared. "What? Separate checks? One for me and my husband, one for everyone else." "You're joking." "I'm not." The waiter looked uncomfortable but nodded and walked away. Brooke turned to my husband. "Are you really going to let her do this? On her birthday?" My husband said, "I told everyone before dinner to handle their own tab. I didn't think you were serious." I was serious. "I don't have $380. She said it like it was my problem, like ordering $380 worth of food she couldn't pay for was somehow something I was supposed to anticipate and fix. My mother-in-law stepped in. "Brooke, just pay for what you ordered. I can't afford that right now. I thought someone was covering dinner. Your brother said he was covering himself and Ellie. Nobody told you to order a $210 bottle of wine." Brooke's face went red. She looked around the table for someone to rescue her. Will stared at his plate. His wife suddenly found her napkin very interesting. My father-in-law pulled out his card. "I'll cover it this time." "No," I said. Everyone looked at me. Every single dinner, someone covers for her. That's why she keeps doing it. She ordered $380 of food she can't pay for at my birthday dinner and didn't even say happy birthday. My father-in-law slowly put his card back. Brooke stood up. "This is humiliating." "You humiliated yourself. Nobody told you to order lobster and a $210 bottle of wine when you can't afford it. I can't believe you're doing this to me. You slid me an $1,140 bill on my birthday."
My stepmom's obsession with making us share everything equally backfired when I figured out how to use her own rule against her. When Dad married Linda, she had a 6-year-old son named Trevor. I was 14. My brother Kyle was 12. Linda announced at our first family dinner that her #1 rule was absolute equality between siblings. "Everything gets split 50-50, she said, smiling. "That's how you build a fair household." At first, I thought she meant we'd take turns picking movies or split chores evenly. Then my birthday came 3 weeks later. Dad gave me a Barnes & Noble gift card for $50. Linda immediately took it from my hands. "Trevor doesn't have a gift card," she said, "so you'll split this one, $25 each." "But it's my birthday present," I said. "And Trevor is your brother now. We share in this family." I looked at Dad. He just shrugged and looked away. Trevor got $25 of my birthday money to buy Captain Underpants books. The next month, Kyle got a new PlayStation game from our grandma. Linda took that too. "You'll play it on alternating days," she announced. "Kyle gets Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Trevor gets Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday." Kyle tried to argue that the game was too hard for a 6-year-old. Linda's face went cold. "Are you saying Trevor isn't as smart as you?" The game went on the alternating schedule. Trevor never actually played it, but Kyle couldn't play it on Trevor's days either. It just sat there. When my youth group gave me a $30 Starbucks card for volunteering, Linda snapped it in half and gave Trevor $15. "But Trevor is 6, I said. "He doesn't even drink coffee." "Then he can get hot chocolate." "Equality, sweetie."
These are the best steals from today. And trust me guys, wait until the end because the last steal was actually crazy. Holy, this is actually a crazy base. Clone, please. Clone, please. The clone just threw. Oh my god, okay, it's actually real. It's actually real, guys. This is insane. So I was kind of nervous at this point because we had a crazy Tang in hands. And the owner came up too and I thought we was going to get hit. But then this happens. He is definitely going to hit me. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my, why did he leave? Why did he literally saw that I had this in my hands? And there's a fan in the game as well. Let's go, chat. We got it. Let's go. Wait, there's a Chimnino. That is a crazy Chimnino, in fact. Yo, this is actually an insane Chimnino.
I left my boyfriend for no reason. I was out at this sports bar with my now ex Eric and his friends last month. Eric and his...
I demanded the same Christmas present my stepbrother got. My stepmom, Janet, has always made it clear that her son, Ethan, was more important than me. Every year at Christmas, this became painfully obvious. While I got practical stuff like socks and notebooks, Ethan would unwrap brand new gaming consoles, expensive shoes, and whatever trendy gadget he wanted. Last Christmas was the worst. I watched Ethan tear open a brand new PS5 while I got a discount backpack from Walmart. The same backpack I saw him laugh about with his friends, calling it poor kid gear. My dad just sat there drinking his coffee, pretending not to notice the obvious favoritism. But this year, I decided things were gonna be different. When Ethan started dropping hints about wanting the new iPhone 15, I made sure to tell Janet I wanted the exact same thing. She looked at me like I'd asked for $1 million. "That's a very expensive gift," she said, doing that fake, concerned voice. "Maybe we should think of something more realistic for your budget." I knew what she meant, Ethan's budget versus my budget, but I wasn't backing down this time. Christmas morning came, and sure enough, Ethan got his iPhone 15 in that shiny white box. I got a flip phone, an actual flip phone from 2010 that probably came from a thrift store. Janet smiled sweetly and said it was more age-appropriate for me. That's when I lost it. I stood up and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Why does Ethan always get better presents than me? We're both your kids now." The room went dead silent. Janet's face turned red and she started stuttering about how they spent the same amount on both of us, which was obviously a lie. My dad finally spoke up and asked to see the receipts. Janet tried to change the subject, but my dad kept pushing. Turns out she'd spent $1,200 on Ethan's gifts and $37 on mine. The flip phone still had a Goodwill sticker on the bottom. My dad went ballistic. He started yelling about how this was exactly why his first marriage ended, because of unequal treatment of kids. Janet tried to defend herself, saying Ethan had special needs because he was struggling in school. But here's the thing, Ethan wasn't struggling because of learning issues. He was failing because he spent all his time gaming instead of studying. Meanwhile, I had straight A's and nobody ever celebrated that. The fight got so bad that my dad told Janet she had until New Year's to figure out how to treat me fairly, or she could find somewhere else to live. She tried to play victim, crying about how hard it was to blend families. 3 days later, Janet came home with another iPhone 15, still in the box. She handed it to me without saying a word, but I could tell she was furious about it. Ethan threw a fit, asking why I got the same phone as him when I didn't deserve it.
I told my girlfriend that she isn't the hot girl anymore after she told me that the only reason she dated a guy like me is because she has a kid. We were 3 years into dating when Ashley dropped this bomb on me during what started as a normal Tuesday night argument about whose turn it was to do dishes. She was complaining about how I never took her anywhere fancy anymore, how I'd gotten lazy with date nights, how all we did was stay home and watch Netflix. I pointed out that she never suggested anything either, and that's when her face changed. She put down her wine glass hard on the counter and said, "You know what? I settled for a guy like you because I have a kid, and no one else wanted to deal with that baggage. I thought you'd at least try to make me happy." For a second, I just stood there holding a dirty plate, water still running in the sink. 3 years. 3 years of me picking up her daughter Mia from soccer practice, helping with homework, meal prepping lunches, fixing things around her apartment, being there at every school event. I'd been more of a parent to that kid than her actual dad, who sent birthday cards twice a year if she was lucky. I turned off the water, dried my hands real slow, and looked her dead in the eye. "Well, Ashley, hate to break it to you, but you're not exactly the hot girl anymore either, so I guess we're both settling." Her mouth actually dropped open. She started sputtering, trying to form words, but nothing came out at first. When she finally spoke, she was screaming about how dare I, about how she could have any guy she wanted, about how I was lucky she even gave me a chance. I just shrugged and said, "If that's true, then go get one of those guys. I'm done." She switched tactics fast, suddenly crying, saying she didn't mean it, that she was just stressed from work and her ex being difficult about child support. But I was already walking to the bedroom to grab my stuff. I'd been staying at her place 4 nights a week for the past year, had a whole drawer of clothes, toothbrush in the bathroom, my favorite coffee mug in the cabinet. Started packing it all into a duffel bag while she followed me around apologizing and then getting mad again when the apologies weren't working. The worst part was Mia heard everything. She was supposed to be asleep, but came out of her room asking why we were yelling. Ashley told her to go back to bed, but Mia looked at me with these sad eyes and asked if I was leaving. I knelt down and told her I had to go, but it wasn't her fault, that she was a great kid. She hugged me and started crying, and that almost broke me, but I couldn't stay after what Ashley said. That wasn't something you just take back. I grabbed my bag and left while Ashley was putting Mia back to bed. Went to my buddy Kevin's couch for the night because I didn't want to drive all the way back to my apartment that late. Kevin didn't ask many questions, just handed me a beer and turned on a basketball game. The next morning, I had 17 missed calls from Ashley, and about 30 texts ranging from apologetic to angry to apologetic again. I didn't respond to any of them. 2 days later, she showed up at my apartment. I don't know how she got past the building door, but there she was, knocking at 8 in the morning on Thursday. I opened it, and she looked terrible, like she hadn't slept. She tried to push past me, but I blocked the door. She said we needed to talk, that she made a mistake, that the stress of being a single mom sometimes made her say things she didn't mean. I told her the problem wasn't that she said it, the problem was that she meant it, and finally admitted it out loud, that I wasn't going to be someone's backup plan because other guys didn't want the responsibility of a kid. She got defensive again, saying I was being dramatic, that all couples say mean things when they fight. I asked her straight up, if some hot guy with money showed up tomorrow and wanted to date you, would you pick him over me? She hesitated for like 3 seconds too long before saying, of course not. That hesitation told me everything I needed to know. I said, we're done, Ashley, for real this time. She called me immature and said I was abandoning Mia just like everyone else abandons her. That was a low blow, but I didn't take the bait. I told her Mia has a mom and a dad, and it's their job to be there for her, not mine. Then I closed the door. I told my girlfriend that she isn't the hot girl anymore, after she told me that the only reason she...
I banned my mother-in-law from the house. My son Daniel is 16 and still dealing with losing his mom 6 years ago. I got engaged 2 years ago to someone I really care about, but her mom is a nightmare. She dresses like some country music star reject and thinks she knows everything about raising kids. Daniel is quiet. He's always been that way. He says please and thank you, does his homework, stays out of trouble. But my future mother-in-law decided he's broken somehow. At every single family dinner, she'd corner him with questions. Why don't you have a girlfriend yet? Are you gay? Do you have friends at school? Why are you so weird? Just loud enough for everyone to hear. Daniel would just sit there frozen while she poked at him. She started calling him autistic, then antisocial. Then she'd Google symptoms on her phone right at the dinner table and read them out loud, comparing them to Daniel. My fiance would tell her to stop, but her mom would cry and say she's just worried about Danny and wants to help him. I told Daniel he didn't have to come to family dinners anymore if he didn't want to. He looked so relieved. For 3 months, whenever her mom came over, Daniel would stay in his room or go to a friend's house. My future mother-in-law hated it. She'd complain every single visit about how I'm turning Daniel into a spoiled brat who can't handle family. Last Tuesday, she showed up without calling first. Daniel was home doing homework. He came downstairs, said hi to her politely like always, then went to the bathroom. She sat in the living room with my fiance drinking coffee. I was upstairs folding laundry when Daniel knocked on my bedroom door looking panicked. Dad, my journal's gone. It was on my desk and now it's not there. We tore his room apart looking for it. Under the bed, in his backpack, everywhere. Nothing. I went downstairs and asked my fiance if she'd seen it. She was in the kitchen loading the dishwasher and said no. Then I asked where her mom was. She said the living room, but I looked over and the living room was empty. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Her mom was coming down from the second floor with her giant purse clutched against her chest. I asked where she'd been. She smiled and said she was just using the upstairs bathroom because Daniel was in the downstairs one. But we have a bathroom right off the kitchen that guests always use. I looked at her purse. It's one of those huge leather bags that could fit a laptop. I asked if she took Daniel's journal. Her face went red immediately. She called for my fiance to come in from the kitchen. My fiance walked in asking what was wrong. I told her mom to show me what's in her purse. She refused and started walking toward the front door. I stepped in front of the door. My fiance told me I was being crazy and to let her mom leave. Her mom was shaking her head, saying she couldn't believe I'd accuse her of stealing. I didn't move. I told her to open the purse or I'm calling the cops for theft. She finally dumped it out on the coffee table. Wallet, keys, makeup, receipts, and Daniel's journal with his name written on the front in Sharpie. She grabbed it and held it to her chest. Started crying, saying this was her only way to understand Daniel because he won't talk to her. She said she cares about him and just wanted to read it to figure out how to connect with him. I yelled at her to get out, told her she's never allowed back in my house. She tried to hug the journal, but I yanked it out of her hands and pointed at the door. My fiance started crying, asking me to calm down. Her mom left sobbing. My fiance said banning her was too much and that her mom just made a mistake. I told her that mistake was theft and invasion of privacy. Her dad called me an hour later screaming that I'm abusive and controlling. Said his daughter better wake up and cancel the wedding. Said I won't apologize, there's no wedding. I banned my mother-in-law from the house. My son Daniel is 16 and still dealing with losing his mom 6 years ago. I got engaged 2 years ago to someone
I stole some crazy rare things today. And trust me guys, wait until the end because the last steal is so rare. Wait, there's a nuclear arrow. Hello? What's going on here? He's gonna leave. He's gonna leave, I'm calling it now. Oh my god. Oh my, no, I'm lagging. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, he's chill. I'm gonna do this just in case. Just in case. Let's go. Wait, where is the gold toilet? Just chilling. What is going on? So I have the gold toilet in hands, and I couldn't believe no one else was in here going for this. But guys, just watch this. You will not believe it. Oh my god, there is no way. There is actually, no. Oh my god, let's go. Oh my god, there is 2 Kettabats. This is gonna be a dual base, guaranteed dual base. Oh my god, there is no way. So we had the Kettapat in hands, and I honestly thought that was gonna be a dual base. But just wait for this, guys. This might actually be the chillest server ever. The chillest server, let's go. I stole some crazy rare things today. And trust me guys, wait until the end because the last steal is so rare. Wait, there's a nuclear arrow. Hello? What's going on here? He's gonna...
I told my daughter to cancel her marriage. My daughter's been with her boyfriend for 7 years. 7 whole years of hearing about how perfect he was, how he actually listened to her, how she'd never met anyone like him. And honestly, I agreed. The guy seemed solid, polite, respectful, came to family dinners and didn't act like an idiot. His parents were a different story though. Met them maybe 3 times for dinner, and every single time they'd say weird stuff to my wife like, "Why are you working? Shouldn't you be home with the kids?" That's what mothers do. We'd just brush it off because whatever. They're old school. Then they got engaged. Small party, nothing crazy. My daughter was glowing, talking about the wedding, showing everyone the ring. Everything seemed fine until about 2 months later when her boyfriend shows up at my house on a Tuesday afternoon. Said his parents wanted to talk to me. I was about to yell for my daughter to come down, but he stopped me real quick. "She's not allowed at this conversation," he said. I should have known right there something was off, but I went anyway. Showed up at their place and his parents were sitting there all formal at the dining table. Didn't even offer me water. His dad starts talking about the wedding plans and then just casually drops the word dowry like we're living in 1920 or something. I actually laughed because I thought he was joking. But nope, dead serious. Started going on about how it's tradition, how it shows respect, how their family has always done it this way. I told them straight up, there's no dowry happening, and what century do you think this is? That's when the boyfriend jumps in, starts backing up his parents, talking about how my daughter would be staying home anyway, so the dowry would help them get started. I'm sitting there confused because my daughter's been planning her career since she was in high school. She's got a whole thing mapped out, told me about it 100 times. So I asked him what he meant by staying home, and he said, well, that's what wives do. They take care of the house and kids.
I kicked out my brother, who our parents have previously disowned, because he told my now ex-fiancé that I cheated 9 years ago. My brother Connor got kicked out when he was 16. Our parents went through his phone and found out he was gay. They told him to pack his stuff and leave that same night. I was 23 at the time and had my own place, so I let him move in with me. He's been here for 3 years now. Last weekend was Connor's 19th birthday. He invited like 6 of his friends over and they were all drinking and playing games in the living room. My fiancé Hunter and I were getting ready to leave and give them the apartment when Connor stopped us at the door. He asked if we wanted to join them for a bit. I said no because I'm 26 and too old to be playing drinking games with teenagers. But Connor kept insisting, and Hunter thought it would be funny to act like college kids again. So we stayed. We all got pretty drunk. Connor's friends were doing shots and Hunter and I were keeping up with them, which was a mistake. Then Connor suggested we play Never Have I Ever. I haven't played that game since I was like 19, but whatever. We went around the circle saying random stuff. Never have I ever skipped class. Never have I ever gotten a tattoo. Normal stuff. Then someone said, never have I ever cheated before. Hunter has a thing about cheating. His ex-fiancé cheated on him 4 years ago and it destroyed him. He told me about it on our second date and made it super clear that cheating was his one hard line. I totally understood because cheating is awful. Here's the problem. When I was 17, I cheated on my boyfriend. We'd been dating for 5 months and I kissed another guy at a party. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done. My boyfriend found out 2 days later and dumped me on the spot. I felt terrible about it. I was a stupid kid and I learned my lesson. That was 9 years ago. I never told Hunter about it because it happened when I was literally in high school and it didn't seem relevant to our relationship now. So when the cheating question came up, I didn't drink. I figured a mistake I made at 17 didn't count. But Connor knows about what happened back then because I told him about it years ago when we were talking about relationships. Connor looked at me and said, "Hey sis, what the hell? You know you cheated on Garrett? You have to drink to that." The room went silent. Hunter's face went completely blank. He stared at me for like 5 seconds, then stood up and walked straight to our bedroom. I followed him and tried to explain that it was a teenage mistake from almost a decade ago. I told him I was 17 and stupid and it had nothing to do with us. He wouldn't even look at me. He just kept shaking his head and packing a bag. I kept talking and trying to get him to listen, but he held up his hand and said, "We're done." He said he told me cheating was his one deal breaker and I lied to him about it. I tried to explain that I didn't lie. I just didn't think it mattered anymore. He said it mattered to him. He left that night. I went back to the living room and Connor's friends were all gone. He was sitting on the couch and he looked terrified. He started apologizing immediately. He said he didn't think before he said it, and he didn't mean to ruin my relationship. I didn't say anything. I just went to my room and locked the door. The next morning, I printed out an eviction notice. I'm allowed to do that because he's been here for 3 years and never paid rent, so legally he's just a guest. I gave him 30 days to find somewhere else to live. He cried and begged me not to kick.
Testing how long a yin-yang skibidi toilet will survive in a public server. I'm joking. But in today's video, I'll be testing this scary-looking yin-yang tick. I canceled the family trip because my stepson damaged my plants. So I grow indoor plants, like a lot of them. My whole house is basically a greenhouse at this point. I got aloe vera by the bathroom sink, flowers on the front porch, some weird succulent things my neighbor gave me that I don't even know the name of. It's just what I do. My apartment's too small for a real garden, so I just cram plants wherever they fit. My stepson Sean is 16 and he's been on this prank kick for like 3 months now. At first it was harmless. He'd hide my gardening gloves or swap my good pruning shears with some rusty ones from the garage. Whatever. Kids mess around. I didn't really care as long as he wasn't breaking anything expensive. Then last week he posted this video on Facebook. I was asleep on the couch after work and he just dumped a whole cup of ice water on my face. Like completely soaked me. The video was me jerking awake looking like an idiot with water dripping everywhere. And he didn't just send it to his friends. He posted it where my whole family could see it. My sister commented laughing. My coworkers saw it somehow. I made him take it down. He threw a fit about it. Kept saying it was just a joke and that I was being lame. His mom even tried to get me to let him repost it. I said no, that was it. For like 2 days after that, Sean wouldn't even look at me. Just sulked around the house acting all wounded. Then suddenly on Thursday, he came up to me all friendly asking if he could help water my plants. I was actually surprised. I thought maybe he was trying to make up for the video thing. So I handed him the watering can and told him to start with the ones in the kitchen. He was gone maybe 5 minutes. Came back and started going around the house watering everything. I was in the other room organizing my tools and didn't think much of it. That evening I was cleaning out the watering can and it smelled wrong, like strong chemical wrong. I sniffed it and it straight up smelled like bleach. My stomach dropped. I ran to the kitchen and checked the plants he'd watered first. Same smell coming off the soil. Then I checked the ones in the living room. Same thing. I found Sean in his room on his phone. I asked him what he put in the watering can. He shrugged and said nothing, just water. I told him I could smell bleach and he needed to tell me the truth right now. He kept saying he didn't know what I was talking about. I started looking around his room and found a bottle of bleach shoved under his bed, not even hidden well. I held it up and asked him again. He finally cracked and admitted he poured bleach in the watering can to get back at me for the video. I lost it. I told him the trip to the national park this weekend was canceled. Done. We weren't going. He started crying immediately, said I was being unfair and that he made a mistake, that he didn't think it would be that big of a deal. I didn't care. I walked out. My wife came to me later that night and said Sean hadn't eaten dinner, that he was really upset and didn't mean to hurt the...
I told my son that I would not stop inviting his ex to family functions. Kevin is 44. His ex-wife Diana is 43. They were married 18 years before he left her for Autumn, who just turned 24. Diana has their kids most of the time, a 12-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. Kevin only takes them one weekend a month because that's what he requested in court. He actually told his lawyer he didn't want more custody, said his new relationship needed time to develop without constant kid interruptions. 3 weeks ago, Kevin called and told me he proposed to Autumn. Then he said I needed to stop inviting Diana to family events because it made Autumn uncomfortable. I said no, just flat no. He asked what I meant and I told him Diana has been my daughter for 20 years, and that's not changing because he traded her in. He said I was being cruel and hung up. The thing is, Diana never stopped being family. She's the one who texts me photos of the kids. She brought meals when my husband had surgery last year, and sat with me in that hospital waiting room for 6 hours. Kevin came by once, stayed 20 minutes, and left because he had dinner plans. With Autumn, obviously. Diana's parents are in Australia. She moved here for Kevin right after college. We're the only family she has in the country. I'm not abandoning her because my son did, so I kept inviting her to everything. My daughter's birthday 2 weeks ago. Diana showed up.
I moved back out after my parents demanded I follow their rules. So I'm 22 and just graduated college in May. I moved back to my hometown because I had no real plan, and my parents kept calling saying they needed my help. My mom kept saying how bad things were financially, how they might lose the house, how my dad's contracting work had dried up. She'd call me crying about bills. I felt terrible. I was supposed to move in with my buddy Joel and his girlfriend Chris, but I told them I needed to help my family first. My parents seemed so relieved when I agreed. They said if I could just pay them $700 a month for rent, it would save them. $700 is pretty cheap for my area, so I said yes. I got a warehouse job within a week and moved into my old bedroom.
I didn't let my wife's AP to go to her funeral. My wife died in a car accident on a Tuesday evening. She was coming home from her boyfriend's apartment when she hit a patch of ice and slammed into a tree. The irony wasn't lost on me. She was probably rushing back to avoid missing our daughter's recital at 7 p.m. We'd been separated for 4 months at that point, but the divorce papers were still sitting on some lawyer's desk, collecting dust. Legally, I was still her husband. Legally, I got to make all the decisions about what happened next. The first call I got was from the hospital, then the police. Then, about 3 hours later, while I was sitting in our kitchen trying to figure out how to tell the kids, my phone buzzed with a message request on Instagram. Some guy named Tyler with a profile picture of him holding a fish. Hey man, I know this is weird, but I heard about Jessica. Can you let me know when the funeral is? I really cared about her. I stared at that message for about 10 minutes. This was him. This was the guy who'd been sleeping in my bed while I was working double shifts to keep our house. The guy my wife claimed she was genuinely in love with when she asked for the separation. I typed back, "fuck off," and blocked him. But he didn't give up. He found me on Facebook, sent messages through mutual friends, even had his sister reach out on LinkedIn, all asking the same thing. When's the funeral? Where's the service? Can he come say goodbye? My kids were wrecked. Our son Jake, who's 16, hadn't spoken to anyone in 3 days. Our daughter Mia... I ruined my brother's Christmas game by guessing his word in 2 seconds. Every year after Thanksgiving dinner, my family plays this guessing game where we write Christmas words on pieces of paper, put them in a hat, then tape them to our foreheads. You have to ask yes or no questions to figure out what word you got. My brother Jake takes this game way too seriously. He spends weeks researching obscure Christmas stuff like old European traditions and weird holiday creatures that nobody's ever heard of. Last year, he put down Befana, which is some Italian Christmas witch, and it took my aunt like 40 minutes to guess it. So, we're all sitting around the living room and my cousin Olivia pulls out my word and tapes it to my forehead. The second she sees it, she goes, "I literally have no idea what this even is." My Uncle Mike looks at it and shakes his head like he's confused too. That's when it clicked. I looked right at Jake and said, "I think I have your word, don't I?" He just smirked and tried to act innocent, but I could tell from his face that I was right. Jake always picks the weirdest, most random Christmas stuff that only he knows about. It's like his thing. He gets this satisfied look when people can't figure out his words because he thinks it makes him look smart. So, I started asking questions. Am I an object you can hold in your hands? Everyone said no. And my uncle goes, "Honestly, I don't even know what that thing is." At this point, I'm like 90% sure I know what it is. Jake loves this one Christmas creature that he always talks about, but nobody else cares about. He's mentioned it like 50 times during Christmas movies, always explaining the backstory that nobody asked for. I looked around the room and everyone's waiting for my next question. The game literally just started. I was only the second person to even ask anything. I took a deep breath and said, "Am I the Krampus?" The whole room room went silent. Then my mom started laughing and pulled the paper off my head. Sure enough, it said Krampus in Jake's messy handwriting. Jake's face went bright red. He threw his hands up and goes, "Are you kidding me? That's not even fair. You completely ruined the point of putting that word in there." He started going off about how I sucked the fun out of his clever word choice and how it was supposed to stump everyone for at least 20 minutes. He was genuinely upset, like actually mad that I figured it out so fast. My dad tried to calm him down, saying it was just a game and that I made a good guess, but Jake kept complaining that I only knew it because he talks about Krampus all the time, which somehow made it cheating. I told him that's exactly why I guessed it. He's obsessed with weird Christmas lore, and Krampus is literally his favorite thing to bring up every holiday season. It wasn't cheating. It was just paying attention to the stuff he talks about constantly. The rest of the family thought it was hilarious that I won in basically 2 seconds, but Jake pouted for the rest of the night. He kept saying next year he was going to pick something so obscure that even I wouldn't know it. My mom made him put in another word so the game could continue, and he wrote down something normal like candy cane, just to be petty about it. I ruined my brother's Christmas game by guessing his word in 2 seconds. Every year after Thanksgiving dinner, my family plays this guessing game where we write Nubini Pizzanini. Trippi troppi.
I didn't let my brother's girlfriend stay in my guest room after she made a scene at dinner. I have this 2-bedroom apartment downtown that I rent, and honestly, I love it. My brother Austin has crashed in my guest room probably 20 times over the past few years. He respects my space, always cleans up after himself, never makes a mess. So when he texted me asking if he and his new girlfriend could stay the weekend while they visited the city, I said sure without even thinking about it. The girlfriend's name was Tori. I hadn't met her yet, but Austin seemed really into her, so I figured she'd be cool. Friday night rolls around, and they show up at my door around 6. Tori walks in and immediately starts looking around my apartment like she's inspecting it. She opens my coat closet, peeks into my bathroom, even checks out my kitchen cabinets. I thought maybe she was just being curious, but it felt weird. Austin suggested we go grab dinner at this Italian place down the street. It's nothing fancy, but they have really good pasta, and the bread is amazing. We get seated, and everything seems fine at first. We're looking at menus, and Tori asks what I do for work. I tell her I'm a graphic designer, and she nods but doesn't really say anything back. Then our waiter brings bread to the table, and Tori just starts talking. She goes, "So you rent this apartment, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've been there for 3 years." And she literally laughs and says, "Oh, so you're one of those people who just throws money away every month." I genuinely thought she was joking, so I laughed a little, but she keeps going. She says renting is basically the most financially irresponsible thing a person can do, and that people who rent are the reason they'll never build any real wealth. I try to explain that I like the flexibility since my job might relocate me in the next couple years, and I don't want to be stuck with a mortgage. She just rolls her eyes. Then she says, "My husband just left me because a woman hit on him for the first time in his life, and he says he can't let this pass. I'm 29. We've been together 6 years, married for 3. He's always been the shy type, the kind of guy who rehearsed asking me out for 2 weeks before finally doing it at a Starbucks. Took him 4 months of texting before he even had the courage to suggest meeting up. For our entire relationship, he's reminded me how lucky he feels, how he never thought someone who looks like me would give him a chance. I always told him to stop putting himself down, but he'd just smile and say he's being realistic. 3 weeks ago, things changed. He started acting different, smiling at his phone during dinner, leaving the room to answer texts, going to the gym at 9 p.m. when he usually goes at 6 a.m. When I asked what was going on, he said he was just stressed about work. Then last Monday, I saw her name pop up on his phone. Madison, with a coffee emoji.
I moved in with my grandparents the same day my parents announced my mom's pregnant again. My parents had me when they were 19 and 20, total kids themselves. For the first 6 years of my life, we all lived crammed in with my mom's parents because my parents couldn't get their crap together. When I turned 6, my parents finally moved us out. They were so proud of themselves, acting like they'd accomplished something huge. The reason? Mom was pregnant with kid number 2. That should have been my first warning sign right there. Fast forward 11 years and now there's 6 of us kids total. My house is basically a zoo where the animals run everything. My siblings don't know how to act like humans because my parents never taught them. They spit on people's food, stick their grubby fingers in everyone's plates, and then put the food back. If my mom buys frozen pizzas and there's a topping they don't like, they just pick it off and throw it on the floor. Not in the trash, on the actual floor. They have screaming meltdowns in Target, knock stuff off shelves at grocery stores, and my parents just stand there like it's totally normal. Meanwhile, I'm dying of embarrassment watching other families stare at us like we're some kind of reality TV disaster. But here's the part that really made me lose it. When my youngest sister was born,
I told my in-laws about what their son's girlfriend did to my son's blanket and caused her to get shunned. My 6-year-old Jake has this special blanket that my mom made for him before she passed last year. It's this bright yellow thing with little dinosaurs all over it, and he takes it everywhere. School, sleepovers, even to the grocery store sometimes. The kid's been through enough losing his grandma, so I wasn't about to take away the one thing that helped him sleep at night. Last weekend, my brother-in-law Kevin brought his new girlfriend Amber over for family dinner. She seemed nice enough at first, making small talk and helping in the kitchen. But when Jake dragged his blanket to the living room to watch cartoons, I saw her face scrunch up like she smelled something gross. After dinner, Jake fell asleep on the couch with his blanket. When I went to carry him upstairs, the blanket was gone. I asked everyone where it was, and Amber raised her hand like she was in 3rd grade. "Oh, I threw it in the washing machine," she said. "It looked pretty dirty." Here's the thing about Jake's blanket. It's old, delicate, and the washing instructions are very specific. Hand wash only, cold water, air dry. My mom spent weeks making it, and it's literally irreplaceable. I rushed to the laundry room and found her standing there, watching my son's blanket getting destroyed in hot water with bleach. The yellow fabric was already turning white in patches, and the dinosaur prints were bleeding together into this muddy mess. "What did you do?" I yelled, pulling it out of the machine. She shrugged like it was no big deal. "It needed a deep clean. Kids are gross." The blanket was ruined, completely destroyed. Jake woke up crying when he couldn't find it, and when I showed him what was left, he cried harder than I'd seen since his grandma's funeral. Kevin tried to play peacekeeper, saying Amber was just trying to help and that we could buy a new blanket. But this wasn't some random blanket from Target. This was the last thing my mom ever made. I was so angry I couldn't even speak to Amber for the rest of the night. She kept trying to apologize, but it felt fake, like she was sorry she got caught, not sorry for what she did. The next day, I called Kevin's parents. I told them exactly what happened, how their son's girlfriend destroyed a precious keepsake without asking, how she used bleach on a handmade blanket, how she made my 6-year-old cry over something that could never be replaced. Kevin's mom was horrified. She remembered my mom making that blanket, remembered how much time and love went into every stitch. His dad was just as upset, saying anyone who would be so careless with a child's comfort item wasn't welcome in their home. They called Kevin immediately. I don't know exactly what they said, but I heard it was brutal. They told him that if Amber couldn't respect other people's belongings, especially something that important to a grieving child, then she wasn't the kind of person they wanted around their family. Kevin's whole extended family found out within hours. His aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. Group chats were blowing up with people sharing their own stories about Amber being inconsiderate or rude. Turns out, this wasn't her first time overstepping. She'd thrown away Kevin's sister's leftovers at a a previous dinner because she thought they looked old. She'd rearranged their mom's spice rack without asking because the organization bothered her. By Wednesday, Kevin's entire family had basically blacklisted her. No more family dinners, no holiday invitations, nothing. Kevin tried to defend her at first, but when his own mom said Amber wasn't welcome at Christmas, he realized how serious this was. Amber started blowing up my phone, crying about how she was just trying to help and how I ruined her relationship. She offered to pay for a new blanket, but I told her there was no amount of money that could replace what my mom made. Kevin broke up with her 2 weeks later. I told my in-laws about what their son's girlfriend did to my son's blanket and caused her to get shunned. My 6-year-old Jake has this special blanket that my mom made for him before she passed last year. It's this bright yellow thing with little dinosaurs all over it, and he takes it everywhere. School, sleepovers, even to the grocery store sometimes. The kid's been through enough losing his grandma, so I wasn't about to take away the one thing that helped him sleep at night. I told my fiancée her daughter is not mine, so I was sitting on the couch after work just scrolling through my phone when my fiancée walks in and sits down next to me. She had this look on her face like she wanted to start something, and sure enough, she goes, "Why would you say something so hurtful earlier?" I'm confused because I had no idea what she was talking about. I asked her what she meant, and she said I told her that her daughter wasn't mine. And yeah, I did say that, but only because she said it first during an argument we had that morning. I told her I was literally just repeating what you said to me. She got quiet for a second, then asked, "Do you love my daughter?" I said yes, obviously. I've been in this kid's life for 3 years. She's 8 years old, calls me by my first name, and we get along great. But then my fiancé asked, "Do you love her as much as you love your son?" Now, my son is 10. He's my biological kid from a previous relationship, and yeah, I love him more than anything. So I answered honestly. I said, almost as much. And that's when things went sideways. She got all upset, started getting cranky with me, and I was just sitting there like, what did I do wrong? So I flipped it on her. I asked, "Do you love my son?" She said no, just flat out no, didn't even hesitate. I asked if she loved me and she goes, sort of. After 2 years together and being engaged for 6 months, she loves me, sort of. I didn't even know what to say to that. I just stared at her. Then she started crying, like full-on tears. And before I could say anything, she got up, went to her daughter's room, and woke her up. It was like 9 at night. Her daughter came out rubbing her eyes, asking what was wrong, and my fiancé goes, "We have to leave. He doesn't want us here anymore." I told her I never said that. I said we could talk about this tomorrow when everyone calmed down, but she wasn't having it. She kept saying, "He doesn't want you. Don't let me leave on my own." Her daughter started crying, saying she didn't want to leave. The poor kid was confused and scared, and I felt awful. I told them both they were welcome to stay, that nobody had to go anywhere. But my fiancé grabbed her purse and keys and just left. Didn't pack a bag, didn't take her daughter, just walked out the door. Her daughter stood there crying, asking why her mom left without her. I tried calling my fiancé like 15 times that night. No answer. I texted her asking if she was okay, where she went, if she was coming back. Nothing. Her daughter ended up sleeping in the guest room, and I felt like the worst person alive even though I didn't do anything wrong. The next morning, I called my daughter's father to let him know what happened since we share custody, and he needed to know there was drama going on. He just laughed. Like, actually laughed. He said, "She couldn't even hold off on the crazy until after the wedding, huh?" That stung because he was right. I'd been ignoring red flags for months. Like how she never wanted to do anything with my son, or how she'd get mad when I spent money on him, or how she always made everything about her feelings. Her daughter stayed with me for 2 more days before my fiancé finally showed up to get her. She didn't apologize or explain where she'd been, just picked up her kid and left. We haven't talked since, and honestly, I don't even know if we're still engaged. I told my fiancé
My sister accused me of being selfish for not driving her to the airport, while she had my car keys in her purse. Rachel had this thing where she always needed someone else to solve her problems. When her laptop broke, I had to help her write emails to tech support. When she couldn't figure out her class schedule, I spent 3 hours on the phone with her college advisor. When she needed groceries but was too lazy to go herself, suddenly, I was her personal delivery service. But the airport thing crossed every line imaginable. She'd booked this last-minute trip to visit her boyfriend in Phoenix without telling anyone until the night before. Then she storms into my room at 10 p.m. demanding I drive her to the airport at 6 a.m. "I already told you I can't," I said for the 3rd time. "I have that job interview at 9, and the airport is 40 minutes away. I'd never make it back in time." She rolled her eyes. "Just reschedule it. This is more important. More important than the job I'd been trying to get for 2 months? The one that could finally let me move out of our parents' house?" But Rachel never cared about anyone's plans except her own. "Take an Uber," I suggested. "Or ask Mom to drive you. Mom's car is making that weird noise again, and Uber costs like $60. You're just being selfish." She crossed her arms like a little kid throwing a tantrum. The next morning, I'm getting ready for my interview when I hear her stomping around the house, slamming doors. She's supposed to leave in 20 minutes, and clearly her backup plan fell through. true. I grab my car keys from the kitchen counter to warm up the car, but they're not there. I check my jacket pockets, my purse, everywhere, nothing. Rachel, have you seen my keys? I call out. She appears in the hallway with her suitcase, looking panicked. No, why would I have your keys? Something in her voice sounds off. I walk over to where she left her purse on the couch and notice it.
Opening an entire base of the new Leprechaun Lucky Blocks. You won't believe what I ended up getting. Let's have a look at the lineup. Most of these have at least one trait or mutation, but the best ones are these gold and diamond blocks with 4 traits. Let's start with the first 3 blocks, and hopefully we can start off strong. And we actually do, by pulling the Know My Gold, which is a 2.5% chance. Hopefully we can carry this...
I didn't tell my child's biological father that his rights had been terminated years ago. My ex Troy and I got divorced when our daughter Megan was 2. He wasn't a bad guy exactly, but he was 23 and wanted to party more than parent. The divorce was messy because he'd cheated with some girl from his warehouse job. He felt guilty about it, so he never fought me on anything. He'd see Megan maybe twice a month and always paid his support on time, but you could tell he felt awkward around her, like he didn't know how to be a dad when he'd been such a garbage husband. I met Kevin when Megan was 4 and we got married a year later. Kevin was incredible with her. He did the bedtime routine every single night, packed her lunches, learned to braid hair from YouTube videos because I was terrible at it. By the time she was 6, she was calling him dad and asking why her last name was different from ours. That's when Kevin brought up adoption. He wanted to make it official. I knew we'd need Troy's signature, so I called him up. I expected a fight, but he just sounded tired. He said if it made things easier for Megan to have the same last name as her family, he'd sign whatever. I think he still felt so guilty about the cheating that he'd do anything I asked. Here's the thing. I told him it was paperwork, so Megan could have Kevin's last name for school stuff. I didn't specifically say he'd be giving up his parental rights. The lawyer had explained everything to me about termination and adoption, but when Troy showed up to sign, I just handed him the papers and said thanks for being cooperative. He literally didn't read a single page, just signed where the lawyer pointed. The whole thing took maybe 15 minutes. Afterwards, he asked if he should still pick Megan up on his weekends, and I said, yeah, we'd figure out a schedule that worked. Then he left. I never figured out a schedule. He'd text about seeing her, and I'd say she was busy with soccer or had a birthday party. After a few months, he stopped asking as much. I think part of him was relieved, honestly. He'd started dating someone new and didn't have to explain the whole kid situation as much. He still sent the child support every month like clockwork, but the visits just kind of faded out. I didn't push it, and honestly, neither did he. Megan's 14 now. She barely remembers Troy. Last month, he showed up at her soccer game out of nowhere, just standing by the bleachers watching. Megan didn't even recognize him at first. After the game, he came over and said he wanted to be more involved now that he'd gotten his life together. He said his girlfriend left him last year, and it made him realize he'd been running from responsibility his whole life. He had a good job now and his own place, and he missed his daughter. I told him we'd need to discuss it. He said he'd have his lawyer draw up a formal visitation agreement since we never had one in writing. He seemed genuinely excited about it. That's when everything exploded. His lawyer called my lawyer and apparently lost his mind when he found out there was an adoption on file. Troy called me screaming, asking when I was planning to
I told my wife there's nothing weird about me giving away my niece at her wedding, and that my wife has no say in it at all. My brother died when I was 23 and he was 26. Car accident on a rainy Tuesday morning, the kind of thing that makes you realize how fast everything can change. He left behind his daughter Emma, who was only 6 at the time. My wife and I weren't even engaged yet, but she was there through all of it, helping me figure out how to be an uncle who suddenly had way more responsibility than I ever expected. Emma's mom wasn't really in the picture. She'd taken off when Emma was 2, sent a birthday card maybe 3 times since then, so it was just me and my parents helping Emma through losing her dad. My parents did most of the day-to-day stuff since they lived closer to Emma's school, but I made sure to see her every weekend. We'd go to movies, get ice cream, play mini golf, normal uncle stuff.
I told my father and his girlfriend that the gift she got me was creepy and invasive, so I'm pregnant with my first kid, due in like 2 months. Everyone's super hyped about it because it's the first grandkid on both sides of the family. My dad's girlfriend Lena is one of those people who's obsessed with Instagram influencers and all that stuff. I'm not. We get along fine, but we're just really different people. Ever since I told everyone I was pregnant, Lena's been sending me these posts from mommy influencers talking about their birth stories and parenting tips. I usually just like them and move on because I don't want to be rude. But then a few months ago, one of her favorite influencers posted this video of herself literally giving birth, like the whole thing. Baby coming out, family watching through the window, some country song playing over it. It was so cringy. Lena sent it to me immediately and was like, "Isn't this beautiful?" I straight up told her I would never film my birth like that. It's a medical procedure. I don't even want anyone at the hospital except my husband. I've been super clear about this since day 1. Fast forward to Christmas. We're at my cousin's house with my whole family. Everyone's opening gifts and having a good time. Lena hands me this envelope with a huge smile on her face. I open it up and there's a business card inside for a videographer. She tells me she's hiring him to film my birth. I just stared at her for a second because I genuinely thought she was joking. But nope, she was dead serious. She kept going on about how it would be such a special memory and how I'd regret not having it filmed. My dad was nodding along like this was the best gift ever. I didn't want to make a scene at Christmas, so I just thanked her and stuffed the card back in the envelope. But I was freaking out inside. My husband could tell I was uncomfortable and squeezed my hand under the table. Yesterday we had lunch with Lena and my dad. I figured it was better to address it in person instead of over text. I told her that while I appreciated her thinking of me, I really wasn't comfortable with having a videographer at the birth. I said she didn't need to get me anything else and that I'd really prefer if she didn't hire him. She looked at me like I just kicked her dog. My dad immediately jumped in and said I was being ungrateful. Lena's
started tearing up and saying she just wanted to give me something meaningful. She kept asking why I'd pass up the chance to have such a beautiful memory of my child's birth. I tried to explain that it's not about the memory. It's about me not wanting to be filmed during one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. That's when I said it. I told her the idea of having someone film me while I'm in labor was creepy and invasive, and that this wasn't the first time I'd said I was uncomfortable with this kind of stuff. Lena full-on started crying. My dad got pissed and told me I was being rude and disrespectful. He said he was very disappointed in me for refusing such a thoughtful gift. I tried to explain again that it's my birth and my choice, but he wasn't hearing it.
Tung 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 sahur. Talpa di ferro. I refuse to drive if my wife is in the car. For like 3 years after we got married, I couldn't figure out why I'd turn into this angry, stressed out person every time we went anywhere together. We'd be heading to dinner or whatever, and by the time we got there, I'd be in the worst mood. My wife would ask what's wrong, and I'd just say I was tired or work was stressing me out. Then one day, it clicked. I was only pissed off when I drove with her in the car. My wife is the worst backseat driver on the planet, and I'm not exaggerating. Why are you going this way? The other route is way faster. You're going too fast. Slow down. 2 seconds later. Can you go any slower? We're gonna be late. You could have made that yellow light. That light was still red and you blew right through it. Can you brake any harder? I almost hit the dashboard. There were like 20 open spots and you picked the worst one. It didn't matter how I drove. Smooth, rough, fast, slow, didn't make a difference. She'd find something to complain about every single time. So about 2 years ago, I just stopped driving when we were together. I'd toss her the keys and say, "You drive." At first, she thought it was weird, but then she seemed to like being in control. And guess what? I wasn't grumpy anymore. We'd go places and I'd actually enjoy myself because I wasn't getting criticized every 5 seconds. This went on for a while until last month when she got annoyed. I'm always the one driving now. We need to split it 50-50. I said fine, but only if she could keep her mouth shut while I was behind the wheel. She said she would. Last Saturday, we're heading to her sister's place for dinner. I'm driving. We're literally 3 minutes from our house when she goes, "You know you could have taken Main Street instead of cutting through the neighborhood." I just looked at her. "What?" she said. "I'm just saying Main Street would have been faster." I pulled over right there on some random street, put the car in park. "Nope, I'm done. Either you drive or we're going home." "Are you serious right now?" "Dead serious. You said you wouldn't criticize my driving." That lasted 3 minutes. She sat there for a second, then mumbled something about how I drive like an idiot, even though she's the one with 2 speeding tickets and a fender bender on her record. I've got nothing. Clean record for 8 years. She got out, walked around to the driver's side, and I switched to passenger. We didn't talk the rest of the way to her sister's house. At dinner, her sister asked why we were both in bad moods. My wife told her I refused to drive because I can't handle feedback. I said she can't go 3 minutes without backseat driving, and I'm not dealing with it anymore. Her sister just laughed and said their mom used to do the same thing to their dad. He stopped driving with her too. My wife didn't think it was funny. On the drive home, she kept saying I was being ridiculous and immature. I just stared out the window.
These are the best steals from today. And trust me guys, wait until the end because the last steal was crazy. Wait, that is a Divine Esoc. Oh my god, please don't leave, please don't leave. Oh my, we have it in hands, we have it in hands. Chat. He is AFK, he is AFK. So I was kind of nervous with this one because other people were cloning in. But just wait until you see what happens. Oh my god, imagine if I got the glitch. Oh my god, guys, I was panicking, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of nervous we were just gonna glitch. I think we get this. I think we get this, I think we get this. This is actually insane. 300 million, let's go, chat. That is another crazy Esoc. That is another crazy, please let me a jewel. Oh my god, it's real. Oh my god, chat. So after stealing the crazy Divine Esoc, we found this Esoc in another server. And trust me guys, just keep watching until the end because there's another crazy steal after this. Oh my god. Oh my, chat, it's happening again, I think. Unless, no, this guy's gonna grief. I think this guy might actually grief or he might not, I don't know. I don't know, is he chill? He might be chill, chat. Let's go, we got it. Oh my god. Wait, that is an Oclodon. That is actually an Oclodon. Chat. Oh my god, and it's real. And it's real. Holy! So I almost didn't see the Oclodon because it was just hiding in the corner. But we managed to grab it, and then the craziest thing happens.
I banned my mother-in-law from the house. My son Daniel is 16 and still dealing with losing his mom 6 years ago. I got engaged 2 years ago to someone I really care about, but her mom is a nightmare. She dresses like some country music star reject and thinks she knows everything about raising kids. Daniel is quiet. He's always been that way. He says please and thank you, does his homework, stays out of trouble. But my future mother-in-law decided he's broken somehow. At every single family dinner, she'd corner him with questions. Why don't you have a girlfriend yet? Are you gay? Do you have friends at school? Why are you so weird?
I gave 9 years of my life to a man who dumped me right after making me think he was about to propose. But now, months later, he's begging to meet up because something is haunting him. I was 27. He was 26. We'd been together since we were teenagers, which means I watched this man grow up and helped build him into who he became. When his parents cut him off over his college major, I was the one picking up the slack, working 2 jobs while also being a full-time student, covering rent, groceries, utilities while he focused on his degree. I didn't resent him for it because I genuinely believed we were building something together. When his parents came back around, we moved into a nicer apartment. He told me to quit one of my jobs. I didn't. It was finally his turn to carry some weight, and for a while, things were actually good. He was present, attentive, made me feel like the hard years were finally paying off. Then slowly, something shifted. New work friends, longer hours, shorter conversations. I made excuses for months because that's what you do when you've invested that much. Then December came and he completely flipped. Weekend trips, home-cooked dinners, little notes left around the apartment. It felt like we were dating again for the first time. I told my best friend I thought he was going to propose. She helped me think about what I'd say. January 2nd, he made my favorite dinner. Candles, music, the whole setup. He sat across from me and gave this long speech about how I'd been by his side since high school, how I'd seen him at his lowest, how nobody had ever known him the way I did. My heart was pounding. Then he dumped me. He told me I'd been a good girlfriend, but that's all he'd ever see me as. Said he didn't picture me as his wife or the mother of his kids. At some point, he called me a gold digger. Said he needed someone on his level now. Told me he'd be sleeping in the guest room, and I had 30 days to move out. Then he sat there watching me, waiting for me to fall apart. I didn't give him that. I went to the bedroom, opened my laptop, ordered moving boxes, and went to sleep. The next morning, I waited until I heard the front door close. Then I called my boss and begged for a transfer. Reached out to everyone I knew who wasn't also his friend. My cousin offered her spare room immediately. Said I could come that same day. Within 4 days, I had everything packed and was gone. I blocked him on everything, blocked his whole circle, changed my number, changed my email. I didn't leave a single door open. The first night at my cousin's was when it all finally hit me. I cried every night that first month, replayed that dinner over and over. The way he sat there waiting for me to react. The way he said white like it was something I could never deserve. I felt worthless in a way I didn't have language for. My cousin eventually pulled in my mom and a few close friends and staged a proper intervention. I didn't realize how badly I'd broken down until I saw their faces when they walked in. I was still in the middle of all that when the flowers showed up. 4 months after I walked out, a bouquet arrived at my new office. The card said he'd been thinking about me constantly, that there was something he needed to say to my face or it would haunt him forever, that he had no way to reach me and was asking for one meeting. Everyone told me to throw it away, but I'd spent 4 months not knowing, and that was eating at me more than the hurt was. Against every reasonable instinct, I agreed. We met at a coffee shop, public, easy exit, my cousin on standby. He showed up looking tired and rehearsed. He launched into this apology that wasn't really an apology. Heavy on. I'm sorry you feel that way. Light on I did something wrong. He blamed his mental health, his job, his parents, his friends, everyone except himself. When he finally paused, I said, I already know everything. He stopped, stared at me. Something shifted in his face like he was recalculating. Here's what actually happened. He'd spent 2 years completely obsessed with a woman at his office. When he ended things with me, he walked straight to her and confessed. Told her he'd ended a 9-year relationship because he was in love with her and wanted to do things the right way. She told him he was disgusting. Said if he contacted her outside of required work communication, she'd report him to HR. And she did. He'd thrown away 9 years. Said things to my face I spent months trying to unhear. And the woman he'd done it all for wanted nothing to do with him. Now, he was sitting across from me telling me we belonged together and that he'd marry me before the year was out. I let him finish. Then I looked at him and said, I'm nobody's second choice. I texted my cousin. She was there in 20 minutes. He was still talking when she walked through the door. Told him exactly where he could go, and we left. That was the last time I saw him. I gave 9 years of my life to a man who dumped me right after making me think he was I didn't explicitly state my punch is non-alcoholic, so I'm 25 and work at this accounting firm. Last month, my boss threw this huge party at his house because we survived tax season without anyone having a complete breakdown. He invited everyone from the office plus spouses, so like 35 people total. We decided to do potluck because feeding that many people would cost a fortune. I volunteered to bring this punch I always make. It's super simple, just ginger ale, Sprite, orange juice, and some frozen concentrate mixed together. I've brought it to like 3 other work events, and people always drink the whole bowl. Here's the thing though, I never put alcohol in it. I have coworkers who don't drink, and I figured if someone wanted booze, they could just add their own from my boss's liquor table he set up. The party was going great. People were eating, talking, the usual office party stuff. My boss had beer and wine out, so people were drinking if they wanted to. Then I noticed Sandy, this woman who works in our department, getting really loud. Like louder than normal, and Sandy's already pretty loud on a regular day. She was stumbling around, hanging all over people, making a huge scene. I honestly just thought she brought her own drinks or was hitting the wine hard. Didn't think anything of it. Then suddenly she literally falls off her chair, just tips right over. Everyone stops talking and stares. She's laughing super loud and yelling about how drunk she is. Then she looks directly at me across the room and goes, "Hey, what did you put in that punch?" I was confused. I said, "Just ginger ale, Sprite, orange juice, and concentrate." "Why?" She gets this big dramatic look on her face and slurs, "No, what alcohol did you put in it? Because I've been drinking it all night and I am wasted." The whole room went dead silent. I could feel everyone staring at us. I said, "I didn't put any alcohol in it. Maybe someone else added some?" Nobody said anything. Then Kevin from payroll, who doesn't drink at all because of his medication, spoke up and said, "I've been drinking the punch all night too. I'm completely sober. There's definitely no alcohol in it." Sandy's face went completely white. She just stared at me, then at Kevin, then at the punch bowl. Everyone was standing there in the most awkward silence I've ever experienced. I could see our boss and his wife exchanging these uncomfortable looks. Sandy didn't say a word. She just got up and walked straight to the bathroom. She stayed in there for like 15 minutes. When she came out, she grabbed her purse and left without saying goodbye to anyone. Later that night, I got this absolutely furious text from her. She said I humiliated her on purpose, that I made her look like a complete idiot in front of our bosses and everyone we work with, that I should have just kept my mouth shut and let her think the punch was alcoholic instead of embarrassing her. I was so confused. Like, she literally asked me what was in it in front of everyone. Was I supposed to lie? Make up fake alcohol ingredients? Since then, I told my sister-in-law to get out of my daughter's baby shower. My daughter Amy lost her first baby 2 years ago. He was stillborn at 38 weeks. They were gonna name him Philip. When she came home from the hospital, she couldn't even look at the nursery. She asked us to take it all down before she got back. Every single thing. The crib, the changing table, the little elephant mobile we'd hung together. She kept his ultrasound pictures and a tiny lock of his hair in a memory box, but everything else had to go. My husband's sister Vanessa had given Amy this expensive stroller at the baby shower. When we started donating things, Vanessa lost her mind. She called Amy hysterical. She told everyone at Sunday dinner that taking down a nursery was ridiculous and dramatic. She said Amy needed to grow up and face reality. I had to physically stand between them at one point because Amy was shaking so hard she could barely breathe. We banned Vanessa from family stuff for 6 months. She only came back after promising she'd never mention Philip again. Fast forward to last month, Amy's pregnant again, 26 weeks with a girl. We threw her a baby shower at my house. I invited Vanessa because my husband begged me to keep the peace. Big mistake. The whole afternoon, Vanessa whispered to people. I heard her tell my neighbor we were tacky for throwing a second baby shower. She told my husband's cousin that Amy was milking the tragedy for attention and free stuff. I watched her roll her eyes every time someone congratulated Amy, but she stayed away from my daughter, so I bit my tongue. Then Amy started opening presents. There were these tiny pink onesies with bunnies on them, a handmade blanket from her best friend. Amy was smiling for the first time in months, really smiling, and I felt like I could finally breathe. That's when Vanessa spoke up, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You know, if you hadn't torn apart Philip's nursery and thrown everything away like it meant nothing, you wouldn't be sitting here begging people for gifts." The room went silent. Amy's hands stopped moving. She just stared at the wall with this blank look on her face, and then tears started rolling down her cheeks. She didn't make a sound, just tears. I grabbed Vanessa's gift from the pile, walked to the front door, and threw it onto the driveway. The box split open and some glass thing inside shattered on the concrete. "Get out," I said. "Right now." Vanessa crossed her arms. "I'm not leaving. I have every right to be here. Someone needs to tell the truth. I completely lost it. Get out of my house!" I screamed it so loud my throat hurt. My husband ran in from the garage where he'd been helping his dad load chairs into the car. His mom explained what happened, and without saying a word, he picked up Vanessa like she weighed nothing and carried her out the door. She was yelling the whole time about how we were all enabling Amy's weakness. He set her down on the porch and said, "Don't come back." Amy left the shower early. She didn't even take the gifts, just grabbed her purse and walked out to her car while people were still standing around in shock. I told my sister-in-law to get out of my daughter's baby shower. My daughter Amy lost her first baby 2 years ago. He was stillborn at 38 weeks. They were gonna name him Philip. When she came home from the hospital, she couldn't even look at the nursery. She asked us to take it all down before she got back. Every single thing. The crib, the changing table, the little elephant mobile we'd hung together. She kept his ultrasound pictures and a tiny lock of his hair in a memory box, but everything else had to go. My husband's sister Vanessa had given Amy this expensive stroller at the baby shower.
I told my in-laws we're getting divorced because my wife cheated on me since they thought I was leaving her because of her weight. So I'm 35 and my wife's 35 too. We got married back when we were both like 27, 28, and honestly I thought everything was perfect. Like we had this decent little life going, you know? Nothing fancy, but we were happy. She got pregnant a couple years after we got married, and that's when things started changing. During the pregnancy she gained weight, which like duh, that's what happens. But after our daughter was born, she kept gaining more. And I swear, I didn't care. I really didn't. I thought she was beautiful before, and I thought she was beautiful after. I told her that all the time too. Like I'd see her getting out of the shower and I'd tell her she looked good. I'd hug her her from behind when she was making coffee. I meant all of it, but she didn't believe me. She'd brush me off or roll her eyes like I was just saying it because I had to. She started wearing these huge, baggy sweatshirts all the time, even in summer. She wouldn't let me see her change clothes. It was like she was hiding from me even though we were married and shared a bed every night. Over the next few years, she gained more weight, and her self-esteem just tanked. She'd make these comments about herself that made me feel awful, like we'd be watching TV and she'd point at some actress and say, "Bet you wish I looked like that," and I'd be like, "No, I really don't." But nothing I said mattered. Then about 8 months ago, she started acting weird. She was on her phone a lot. She'd smile at texts and then quickly lock her screen when I walked by. She started going out more, which honestly I thought was good at first, because she'd been so isolated. She said she joined this book club thing with some women from work. I found out 2 months ago it wasn't a book club. I saw a message pop up on her phone when she left it on the counter. It was from some guy named Trevor. The message said something like, "Can't wait to see you tonight, beautiful." I felt sick immediately. When she got home, I asked her straight up who Trevor was. She tried to lie at first, said he was just a friend from work, but I told her I saw the message and she needed to be honest. That's when she broke down crying and admitted everything. She'd been seeing him for 4 months. She said she felt so disgusting and fat that she needed to know if someone who wasn't stuck with her would find her attractive. That's literally what she said. Like I was stuck with her because of our kid. I was destroyed. I told her we were done. I couldn't get past it. Not because she gained weight, but because she cheated. She kept apologizing and saying it was a mistake, but I was already checked out mentally. We told our daughter together. She's 7 and didn't really get it, but we kept it simple. Then, we had to tell our families. I wanted to keep it civil and private. I just told people we were separating and left it at that. But her parents, especially her mom, started blowing up my phone. Her mom called me and started yelling about how I was a shallow piece of garbage for leaving her daughter just because she didn't look like she did 10 years ago. She said I was pathetic, and that real men don't abandon their wives over weight gain. I tried to tell her that wasn't what happened, but she wouldn't listen. She just kept going off. Then her dad showed up at my apartment one evening. He lives like 40 minutes away, so he drove all the way out there just to lecture me. He was calmer than her mom, but he still basically called me scum. He said his daughter sacrificed her body to give me a child, and I repaid her by leaving when she needed support. I tried again to explain, but he cut me off and said he didn't want to hear excuses. This went on for weeks. Her mom would text me calling me names. Her sister unfollowed me on Instagram and posted some vague thing about supporting women. I was getting trashed by her whole family, and they didn't even know the real story. Finally, her parents both showed up at my place together like 2 weeks ago. They wanted to sit down and talk, try to convince me to go to therapy with my wife or whatever. I let them in because I was tired of this. We sat in my living room and her mom started in again about how disappointed she was in me. I snapped. I looked at both of them and said, "Your daughter cheated on me. That's why we're getting divorced. Not because of her weight." The room went completely silent. Her mom's face went white. Her dad just stared at me. Then her mom quietly asked if I was serious, and I said yes, for 4 months, with some guy from her work. I told them she admitted it herself. They left like 10 minutes later without saying much. But then I guess they went straight to my wife's place because she called me that night crying. I told my in-laws we're getting divorced because my wife cheated on me since they thought I was leaving her because of her weight. So I'm 35 and my wife's 35 too. We got married back when we were both like 27, 28, and honestly I thought everything was perfect. I left my son on the side of the road and made him walk home. My son Caleb is 17 and has been asking for a car since he turned 16. I told him the same thing my dad told me. You want a car? You work for it. So he got a job at this pizza place near our house, worked weekends and some weeknights, saved up about $3,000 over the year. Not enough for anything great, but enough for something that runs. About 2 months ago, he came to me with this listing he found online. Some old Civic from 2006. Guy was selling it for $2,800. I went with him to check it out. The car looked rough, paint was faded, dent in the back bumper, but the engine sounded okay. Caleb was so excited he could barely stand still. He kept looking at me like a little kid on Christmas morning. I told him it was his money and his choice. He bought it that same day. For the first few weeks, everything was fine. He drove to work, drove to school, picked up his little brother from soccer practice a couple times. He was responsible about it. Filled it with gas using his own money, even washed it once or twice in our driveway. I actually felt proud watching him take care of something he earned himself. Then last Tuesday happened. I got a call from my younger son Austin's school saying he never got picked up from soccer practice. I called Caleb 3 times. No answer. I had to leave work early, drive 20 minutes to get Austin, who was sitting on the curb looking miserable. When I asked him what happened, he said Caleb texted him saying he couldn't make it, but never.
I told my daughter-in-law she is not a mother, so I have 3 kids and they're all married now. My youngest son is with this woman Jenny, who's been dealing with infertility for years. My other son's wife is pregnant and due next month, and my daughter just had a baby boy last year. Mother's Day rolled around, and honestly, everyone was super busy with their own stuff. Nobody could come visit me, which was fine. I get it. So I decided to put together some nice baskets for my daughter and my pregnant daughter-in-law. Just some candles, chocolates, a cute mug, that kind of thing. Nothing crazy expensive, but thoughtful. Now here's the thing about Jenny. She has 2 golden retrievers named Biscuit and Moose, and she's always making these comments about how they're my first grandkids. Like every family dinner she'd bring it up. I honestly just thought she was joking joking around because of the whole infertility situation. I never took it seriously. My daughter posted a photo in our family group chat showing off everything she got for Mother's Day, including my basket. My pregnant daughter-in-law also sent a thank you message for hers. Normal stuff. Then my phone rang. It was Jenny. She asked where her basket was. I was genuinely confused and asked what she meant. For a second, I thought maybe she was telling me she was pregnant and this was her way of announcing it. My heart actually jumped a little. But no. She said since I already have 2 grandkids by her, she should have gotten a basket too. Then she said Biscuit and Moose's names. I just stood there in my kitchen holding the phone thinking I heard her wrong. So I asked her to repeat that. She said it again. She's the mother of her dogs, so she deserved a Mother's Day basket just like my other daughters-in-law. I'll be honest. I laughed. Not to be mean, but because I thought she was messing with me. But she wasn't laughing back. That's when I told her she's not a mother. I said Mother's Day is for women who raise actual human children, not for pet owners. I didn't say it mean or anything, just stated it like a fact. She completely lost it on me. Started yelling about how dare I invalidate her, and that she is a parent and her dogs are her babies. She said I was cruel and heartless, and that I clearly don't care about her struggles with infertility. Then she hung up on me. I texted my son after to explain what happened, and he called me back pissed. Said I was way out of line and that I need to apologize to Jenny and send her a basket immediately. I told him I'm not doing that because it's ridiculous. Dogs are not children. I have nothing against her dogs, but come on. He said I'm being insensitive to her pain and that she considers herself a dog mom, so I should respect that. I said fine, she can call herself whatever she wants, but that doesn't mean I have to buy into it and send her Mother's Day gifts for her pets. Now my son isn't talking to me. Jenny blocked me on everything. I told my daughter-in-law she is not a mother, so I have 3 kids and they're all married now. My youngest son is with this woman Jenny, who's been dealing with infertility for years. I threw my ex's words in his affair partner wife's face after she spent the last 5 years taunting me. So my ex-husband cheated on me with this woman Heather from his work. I found out when our kids were like 6 and 4. The second I kicked him out, he lost his mind trying to get me back. He'd show up at the house, send like 50 texts a day, the whole deal. One night he sent me this long message saying Heather couldn't even have kids and that's why she was safe. He literally called her something not someone, and said he'd never actually want to be with her for real. Just kept going on about how much he loved me and the kids. I filed for divorce anyway. Heather knew about me the whole time they were hooking up. We'd even met at some work thing once. She smiled right at me knowing what she was doing. So yeah, I wasn't gonna give her any heads up about what he really thought of her. The divorce took forever and the whole time he kept trying. The literal night before it was finalized, he sent more texts begging me to stop it. More stuff about Heather being temporary, about how she wasn't what he really wanted. But here's where it got annoying. From day 1 of him moving in with Heather, she got nasty. She'd see me at school pickup and make comments about how I was dried up or how my body must have grossed him out after having kids. Actual quote was something about my body being too stretched out for him. The school had to kick her out of parent-teacher conferences twice because she said this stuff right in front of the teachers, in front of other parents, in front of our kids' friends' parents. Just zero shame. For 5 years I ignored it. Just walked away every time. Didn't respond to her little comments at soccer games or school events. I figured she'd get bored and stop. Then last month at my
Moni Moni Pagi. DJ Panda. Spaghetti toaletti.
My daughter's volleyball game, she came up to me in the parking lot, started going off about how I've been single this whole time since the divorce, how no man wants me, how even the father of my kids didn't want me. She said he only stays quiet about it because of the kids, but that he tells her everything, that he went to her because of how disgusting I am now. I just stared at her for a second, then I pulled out my phone, went to my messages with my ex, and screenshotted like 6 different texts, all of them from before and during the divorce. The ones where he called her sterile, the one where he said she was just safe fun, the one where he said he'd never actually want something like her. I texted them straight to her number right there in the parking lot while she was still talking. Her phone buzzed. She looked down. Her face went completely white. She tried to say something, but nothing came out. Just got in her car and left. I threw my ex's words in his affair partner wife's face.
I gave my dad his money back in front of his other kids and told him he was no longer welcome at my grad... I didn't want to provide a whole Christmas for my sister's kids. My sister Angela lost her husband in September. Car accident. She has 2 little boys and I felt terrible for them. I've got my own kids, 5 and 7 years old, so I tried helping out. Took her boys trick-or-treating when she couldn't handle it. Had them sleep over when she needed breaks. When Christmas came up, my parents worried Angela couldn't manage it. We all agreed to help with gifts. I'm paycheck to paycheck, but I spent $200 on toys for her boys. My parents bought stuff too. My brother sent money. 3 weeks before Christmas, I got into a fender bender. My fault. Had to pay $800 to fix both cars. Angela called 2 days later saying her boys didn't have enough gifts. I explained about the accident and that I'd already bought presents. She went quiet, then said if I couldn't help her boys during the hardest time of their lives, what kind of aunt was I? I felt horrible. My husband and I agreed to spend another $100 if we skipped eating out. I called her back. She sent me a list. 12 items. Remote control cars, expensive playsets, light-up shoes, mall clothes. Over $500 total. I said no way. She cried, said she couldn't go into stores without breaking down, said her boys would have the worst Christmas ever and it would be my fault. I told her to order stuff online after Christmas. She screamed at me, called me selfish, said I had a husband and she didn't. My mom called an hour later. Angela had called her crying. Mom asked if I could put it on a credit card. I said no. I was done. Angela stopped answering my calls. Posted on social media about people who abandon you when you need them most. Everyone knew she meant me. 4 days before Christmas, I saw Angela's car at Target. I finished shopping quick to avoid her. As I loaded my car, I watched her come out carrying 2 big bags from the makeup section, laughing on her phone. That night I couldn't sleep. I checked her social media. She'd posted new boots 2 days earlier. Expensive ones. Caption about treating herself during hard times. I scrolled back. New purse in November, new jacket in October. Restaurant check-ins 3 times in 2 weeks at pricey places. I called my brother the next
next morning. He said Angela had asked him for money twice and wouldn't say why. He'd sent $300 total. We called our parents. Dad had given Angela cash 4 times since September. Mom had been buying her groceries every week. Christmas Eve at my parents' house, Angela barely looked at me. After the kids left the room, I put my phone on the table. I showed everyone screenshots of her posts. The boots, purse, restaurants, everything. Angela went white, said those were gifts from friends. I asked which friends. She couldn't answer. Dad asked how much money she'd gotten for the boys. She cried and said we were attacking her while grieving. Mom asked again. Angela admitted she'd probably gotten over $2,000 between all of us. My brother asked where it went. She just cried. She'd been spending it on herself. The boys had plenty of gifts under the tree. More than my kids. She just wanted more free money and grief was good cover. Dad told her to leave. She posted that night about family abandoning her on Christmas Eve. My brother commented with receipts, screenshots of money sent, and her shopping posts. Her comments filled with people calling her out. She deleted everything and blocked us. I didn't want to provide a whole Christmas for my sister's kids. My sister Angela lost her husband in September. Car accident. She has 2 little boys and I felt terrible. My brother-in-law said my dress was inappropriate for a family gathering. I wore a blue dress with a heart-shaped neckline to my husband's 30th birthday at his parents' house. Same kind of thing I've worn to their cookouts before, but Kevin decided this time he needed to say something. Kevin's been living with my in-laws for 2 years since his divorce. His ex-wife Nana left him because he wouldn't stop controlling what she wore and where she went. He wanted her to dress conservative and stay home most of the time. She wanted to live her own life, so she went back to Greece and he moved into his childhood bedroom to sulk about it. The problem is, he started doing the same thing to me. At Easter, he said my sundress was too short for church even though we weren't going to church. At a family cookout, he made a comment about my tank top. Every gathering,
I've chosen my brother over my marriage. My parents split when I was 3. Dad got remarried to some lady named Patricia. Mom married a guy who worked at the post office. I got dragged between 2 houses every week with a backpack full of clothes and homework I never finished. It sucked. By the time I was 16, I knew I never wanted kids. Too messy, too complicated. Met my wife Ashley when I was 19 at a community college study group. We dated for a year, got married at 22. She was on the same page about kids. We wanted to travel, save money, just do our own thing. Life was simple. Then my parents got back together when I was 20. Both their second marriages failed within months of each other. They ran into each other at a grocery store and apparently decided to try again. 6 months later, my mom was pregnant. My brother Ian was born when I was 21. I'll admit I didn't visit much at first. The whole thing felt weird. But Ian was actually a cool little kid. He loved dinosaurs and would show me his toy collection every time I came over. I started coming around more often, bringing him books about pterodactyls and T-Rexes from the library. Last March, Mom collapsed in the kitchen making breakfast. Heart attack. She was only 48. Dad found her on the floor next to the stove with burnt toast smoking in the toaster. Ian was at school. She died before the ambulance got there. Dad completely fell apart. He'd always been a drinker, but after Mom died, he got worse. He'd pick Ian up from school drunk, forget to make dinner. I started coming over 4 times a week just to make sure Ian ate something besides cereal. My half-sister from Dad's second marriage lived 2 hours away and said she couldn't help. My half-brother from Mom's side had...
I refused to share a room with a 1-year-old, twin 2-year-olds, and a 4-year-old. My aunt called 3 weeks before the long weekend asking if I wanted to come to the ranch. She said bring a friend. Then she asked if my dad still had that ski boat and got weirdly excited when I said yes. I brought my friend Zoe. 4-hour drive with the boat hitched to my truck. We pulled up Friday around 3 and heard kids screaming before we even opened the doors. My cousin Amy was there with her husband Jeff and their 4 kids. The 1-year-old was launching food from a high chair. The twin 2-year-olds were full speed crashing into furniture. The 4-year-old was losing his mind over a toy truck. Jeff sat scrolling TikTok, ignoring all of it. My aunt rushed through the house tour. 4 bedrooms downstairs, then this huge bunk room upstairs with like 8 beds. She said me and Zoe were sleeping up there. Perfect, I thought. Then Amy dragged all 4 kids upstairs with suitcases and stuffed animals. My aunt got this look and was like, oh yeah, the kids are sleeping there too. I deadass laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't joking. I said we'd just crash on the couches. She looked uncomfortable but said okay. Dinner was absolute chaos. The twins threw spaghetti at each other. The 1-year-old screamed the whole time. The 4-year-old refused to eat. Amy and Jeff kept jumping up to handle meltdowns while the rest of us pretended everything was fine. After dinner, I grabbed our stuff and set up on the living room couches. Amy came down holding the 1-year-old and saw our blankets. She got this tight smile and said someone needs to sleep in the bunk room with the kids because they wake up constantly. I said that sounds like a parent thing. She said her and Jeff haven't slept in 2 years. I said I'm sorry, but that's not on me. Jeff came down and said since I brought a friend, the least I could do was help out. I said, bro, nobody told me this was a babysitting trip. Amy's face changed. She said if I wasn't gonna be a team player, then maybe I should just leave. I started packing our bags. Her eye.
I refused to give my college fund to my nephew after my sister found out about it. So for the past 6 years, I've been grinding at basically every job you can think of. Fast food, warehouse work, overnight stocking at grocery stores, tutoring kids online. And I'm not in some fancy country where minimum wage actually covers rent. I'm talking about a place where you work 40 hours and still can't afford to fix your car when it breaks down. My parents always said they'd pay for college. Every time I asked about it growing up, they'd wave me off like, don't worry, we got you covered. But when I graduated high school and actually needed the money, crickets. They'd make excuses about bills or my dad's business not doing well or whatever. So I figured it out myself. I got a scholarship eventually, which covered tuition. But housing, books, food, all that other stuff, that was on me. So I kept every job I could handle and saved everything. No new phone, no going out with friends, no random stuff. I lived with my parents to keep costs down and just stacked money. My sister, though, she's always had it rough, too. She had her kid young and the dad bailed pretty quick. She's been raising him alone and yeah, money's tight for her. But here's the thing, she never shut up about it. Every family dinner, every holiday, it was always, nobody helps me. And I'm doing this all alone and wish someone cared about us. Like, okay, we get it. I never mentioned my fund to anyone. Not because I was hiding it, but because what's the point? It's my money. I earned it. Didn't need to broadcast it. Then 2 weeks ago, we had this big family thing at my parents' house. Aunts, uncles, cousins, the whole deal. My mom was talking to my aunt about how proud she was that I got the scholarship, and somehow she just casually drops, and he's got money saved up too. Been working so hard. I saw my sister's head snap around. What's inside my updated base in Steal a Brain Rot? As you guys know, I've been trading a lot, and I've been able to put together a pretty stacked base. So here's a tour. Starting on the first floor, I have mostly fuse machine stuff, and also this secret lucky block, which hopefully turns into a Pegasus. Of course not. Then on the other side, I have a base Signo Fulgoro, a gold Burrito Bandito, 2 Money Puggies, and a Brunito Marcito, which is slowly becoming a rare brain rot. However, this floor is still trash. But on the second floor is where things start to get good. Because on this side, I have my Duo Food Brain Rot collection, which includes a Galaxy and radioactive Los Candies, and a Galaxy Bakuru and Eggroux making 288 million. And on the other side, I have my rare trait collection. That includes a firework trait Los Combinations, a 26 trait Signo Fulgoro, a Skibbity trait Santa Hotspot, and even a strawberry Chimnino, and also a gold nuke for fun. However, if you thought my base was good so far, you won't believe what's on the third floor. But you're going to have to watch the full video on my channel to see what's up here. Sorry. What's inside my updated base in Steal a Brain? Here's what I traded for today. Let me know if these were W or L trades, especially the last one. The first thing I did was trade my Money Puggy. I mean, gold Garama that I got from the last video. And after rejecting many good offers, I ended up trading it for a Galaxy Ketcheroo and Musturu. I would say this was a good trade, but the next one wasn't so much, because I traded away 2 limited Legrands for a gold Lava Dorito. But I redeemed myself by trading a 240 mil Lost Spooky